the signals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
It's amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California won the big game. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes. Unbelievable.
This is Phil Steele.
This is Mike Burnham.
This is Wes Durham.
This is Mike Ashley.
Hi, this is Chuck Foreman, number 44 of the Minnesota Vikings.
Woo, mercy, this is handsome Jimmy Van, the Boogie Woogie Man.
This is Coach Fry with Virginia Tech Football, and you are listening to Big Dog Sports Talk.
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Okay, let's do it.
You're in the doghouse with Rick Watson on Big Dog Sports Talk, presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Join us in the Family Fencing Studios and chime in on the McClellan Chiropractic chat line. He's keeping cool with help from Little River Heating and Air, but this show is straight fire. And now, the big dog, Rick Watson.
Rick Watson's got the mic, he's the big dog king. Cover sports so sharp, it's a New River thing. Virginia Tech fire, rapid pride too. Every stat, every play, he's bringing it to you. He's got that voice, deep as a valley, breaking it down, no dilly, no dally. Big dog sports talk, feel the bark. He's got the scoop, faster than a sprint. Calling plays like a coach, every word's a hint. From the courts to the fields, the stories unfold. Rick's play-by-play, worth its weight in gold. With a laugh and a growl, he'll pull you in. Big Dog's podcast, let the games begin. Big Dog Sports Talk, feel the bark, feel the bite.
And good morning, everybody. How are you? It is the Thursday edition of the program. Hope everybody's well. Glad to have you with us. Hit us up. McClellan Chiropractic chat room, Professional Incorporated text line. We'd love to hear from you. Today, David Smith going to come up. We're going to talk some National Football League. You know, I'll never be able to sound like the voice of the heavens himself, John Facenda. But if only I could. Yeah, good to hear from Coach. Well, we're going to get into that, so hang on just a second. So, yeah, we're going to talk to David Smith, just get kind of a draft grade heading into the warmer months as teams start to get ready to rock and roll. Andy Bitter from Tech Sideline. Alex Guerra, big weekend series at home. Come see us at Williams Field, won't you? Come up and say hi. I'm going to be in the press box 6 o'clock tomorrow, 4 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday, Mother's Day. Come see us. And Islanders take care of business this weekend. They're going to be in the tournament for good, for sure. And then Dwight Vick. I mean, come on. It's Thursday. Good morning, Prometheus. Good morning, Vic. Yeah, rest in peace, Ted Turner. I saw the greatest tweet. Gentlemen, it's gone viral. He said, so I'm guessing Ted Turner's funeral starts at 7:05. Remember how everything was 05? Good morning, Stephen. Morning, T-Bird. Yeah, let's get into this. So this is, I had a picture up last night. Boy, what a great time we had at the Blacksburg Sports Club. Appreciate Louise Baker for the invite. From left to right, that is Mike Burnup, Coach Elmo, ugly ass me, and then Coach Bud Foster. I'll tell you what, Burnup and Foster kind of did a question. They just were on stage together, and they were terrific. I see why that format's so effective with donors and so forth. Bud is just unbelievable to hear him speak. Somebody can throw him a question, and he just picks it out. But, yeah, we had several pictures. There's me and Coach Elmo and Bud last night, and then me and Burnup and Coach Elmo. So Coach Elmo, he asked if he could come, and it was no problem. And then he gets put at the head table, right? This is just Coach Elmo. Then he gets put at the head table, and then he's the highlight of the night. But it was a really poignant moment, and next time we have Coach on, we're going to talk. Thanks, Big Al. Appreciate you. We're going to talk about it. He had to get a little, because Bud was talking about Coach Omation being one of the building blocks of his entire coaching career. It was really cool. And I reminded Bud, I had a little brief moment to talk to him. When he used to come on the show all the time. Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, moving forward, it hasn't been developed yet, but Bud Foster will become part of Big Dog Sports Talk. Yes. Yeah. In all honesty, he said, Rick, I'm sorry. I didn't know where he had gone. I didn't know you're on YouTube. He said, let's put the band back together. I said, all right, I'll give you a call next week. But Coach was talking about how Coach Elmo had influenced and how important he was to really getting it started. He said to this day, Coach Beamer still talks about the 2 years Coach Elmo was there, coordinating the defense, getting the whole mindset turned around. He was really vital. From the photo op of Elmo, Burnup, and Bud and Rick at the Blacksburg Sports Club, I hope that fearsome foursome just drink and laugh and get no grub. Morris, good stuff. What's up, Vic? Good to see you, brother. Fearsome foursome, I like that. Now, I don't know if we're as intimidating as that Rams front back in the day. But it was fun. It was, by the way, Louise, if you're watching, thank you so much. Louise invited me out as her guest. And it was really fun. I met a lot of people. There's a lot of, how do you say this? There's a lot of, lots of bank accounts with zeros in that room. Lots of old Blacksburg money. Very nice people. And they were telling me many of them follow the show, and it's great, and I get that a lot. They don't chime in. They don't, a few of them said they watched, but they haven't really subscribed. So yeah. Oh man, let's see. So the Rams fearsome foursome. Deacon Jones, Merlin Olsen, Rosie Greer. There's 3 of them. Lamar Lundy, Deacon Jones, Merlin Olsen, Rosie Greer, Lamar Lundy, the fearsome foursome, the all-time sack leader in the NFL is not Michael Strahan. It's Deacon Jones, David Deacon Jones. If you haven't read his book, Head Slap, I have it. I'll be glad to lend it out. It's terrific. God rest his soul. But Deacon Jones is the all-time sacks leader in the NFL. They just didn't keep that stat. There are coaches and people who played at that time who really think that Deacon Jones may have twice as many sacks as Michael Strahan. So Brett Favre gifted Strahan a fake record. David Deacon Jones. My Lord. Yes, please subscribe. $2.99. Help the old farm boy out. That's me. I'm the old farm boy. Old. That was fun last night. Appreciate it again, Louise. It was great. Bud was terrific. Some of the poignant things he talked about, the search for the president and the AD. James Franklin's going to have a direct hand in the athletic director say. It's already been discussed. Just going to tell you that right now. Whomever it might be, they're going to have to get the approval of James Franklin. And we talked about that. And, that's probably the way it should be, considering what they invested. He also echoed, somebody asked, and he was very honest. I've said this a lot. Mentioned this the other day yesterday with Damien about, and it's not piling on, but Whit Babcock's legacy. He was so vital in the hiring of James Franklin. Well, Bud just came around and said, look, whether it was James Franklin or any other guys that maybe he'd reached out to, guess who they wanted to talk to? It was Bud. Exactly what I was told. Big Ten guy. Bud Foster was the integral pivot man to get James Franklin to Blacksburg. The respect that James Franklin has for Bud Foster and their prior relationship, which he talked about how they'd kind of run at each other, coordinating against one another. That's why he's in Blacksburg. He said the committee was too big. We said this a lot. When do committees ever work? Yeah, I have a Deacon Jones rookie card, T-Bird. It's like a PSA 7. I'm very proud of it. I want to say David Deacon. I want to say it might be a 63 tops off the top of my head. Anyway, Bruce Smith, all-time sack leader. That's right. Yeah, I'm thinking about one season, aren't I? Well, add about 150 to 200. David Deacon Jones. I wonder why that was something that wasn't kept back in the day. Like I guess stats weren't as developed as they are now. But anyway, so yeah, because Bud Foster is the respected member of that whole equation. These football coaches, football people don't know most of the people on the committee. Sure, Rakovich, those guys are like that, Jay Pearson, but the guy they wanted to get into the nuts and bolts, the conversation about what it's like in Blacksburg, what's their commitment, what's the vibe, are they going to, build up, are they going to put their money where their mouth is? All that went through Bud Foster. Every bit of it. Every bit of it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. If you ever watch some of the old clips, remember Paul Zimmerman, Dr. Z? I know David Smith will. Great writer. Passed away years ago. I still believe the greatest Sports Illustrated NFL writer, bar none. Nobody's has come close. You can see clips of him talk about Deacon Jones and the amount of sacks and the pressures, and he was unblockable. He was a monster. And you mean that in the best respectful way possible. So, yeah, Bruce might have the all-time record. Strahan may have the all-time single-season record, but unless it's been passed. Did somebody pass it this past year or something? Was somebody – I can't remember. Whatever it is, it's not real. Neither one of them. Neither one of them. Hard to believe the Rams with that defense never put an offense with it to go to a Super Bowl during that era in the early 70s. Now, there were some really good NFC teams, man. Cowboys were starting to really, really stand up. Correct. That's true. What you didn't have running quarterbacks for the most part. You had a few. You had Fran Tarkington, Deacon Jones. You see interviews with him. He hated Fran Tarkington because of the way he ran around. Roger Staubach, incredibly mobile quarterback. Bob Greasy was a lot more mobile than you think. You know, there weren't a lot of guys, though, that were able to do what we see today with these quarterbacks. That's a great point, T-Bird. No shotgun until the Cowboys started utilizing it, correct? Tom Landry, Roger Staubach brought that into popularity, and now, hell, there's some teams that don't even get under center 10 times a game. David Deacon Jones. Just go watch some of his highlights. I do that a lot because TV is so bad. Modern entertainment is so bad. A lot of times at lunch, I'll be at work, or I might just be in kind of a lull, and I'll go to YouTube and I'll just type in like certain guys, football players' names and their highlights. You're just like, wow, man. Wow. So many young people, this Generation Z, they have no idea who these people are. Will they ever take the time to get to know them, to understand how great they were? Wow. Oh, yeah, Dick Butkus, just so violent. Just a violent game, wasn't it? I mean, he gave no damns. The game was played so much differently. High head, neck tackles. You could almost do the forearm to the neck. Hit guys low, hit guys very late. Quarterbacks would take a pounding, man. Things today, you know, you put a hand on a guy after he throws a pass, they throw a roughing the passer call. You could tackle the quarterback almost 3-4 seconds after he released the ball or hit him, push him to the ground. Unbelievable time. But the best of times, in my opinion, in the NFL through that era. Go all the way through the beginnings, all the way through the 80s and early 90s. And then after the Cowboys dynasty and get through the 2000s, it started. I know popularity gained, but wasn't the same. Family Fencing, by the way, sponsor of our studios. Thanks to Jason Green, 540-200-8294. Get a quote today, familyfencingnrv.com. Mark Hunley's 155 Walters Drive, sponsor of our chat room, McClellan Chiropractic. Thanks, Marco. He is the best, folks. If you're in the area and you need to get an adjustment or figure out what's going on with your body, let Mark help you out. NRV Super Bowls, we're going to have our bash, 540-382-5525. Terry Stike. Get your weekend lanes reserved. They have the late night bowling. The lights are out. It looks like a disco party. It's cool, man. They've put a lot of money, time, and effort into the Super Bowl, and you should go. Again, we're going to have our bash, and it's going to be fun. Lawson's Mobile Home Supply since 1997. Give James a call at 540-381-8011, 300 North Franklin Street in Christiansburg. Sundown Electric is down in Elliston. The Smith brothers are terrific, excellent reputation, long list of satisfied clients. Always honest, always working hard to keep the price down. They are the best. If you want a T-shirt, by the way, thanks to Brandon at Top Shelf Apparel. $20. ReadySetFun.com. Bob Crisp. Oh, I got to hang out with Coach Chris, Dave Chris last night, and Faye. They look great, just like old times, man. I hadn't seen Dave Chris in a long time. Coach is one of my all-time favorite people. I called Blacksburg football exclusively for 3 years and got to work with Coach Chris and Coach Phipps, and just great to see Coach Chris last night. He got up and did the Blacksburg High School update. ReadySetFun.com. You can help your organization, your sports team raise money. Professional Door Incorporated, Travis Williams, residential commercial garage doors, owned and operated 38 years. Thanks, Trav. You're the best, brother. Sponsor of our text line, and it's always popping. Always popping. National Bank member FDIC, my exclusive banking partner, the exclusive banking partner of BDST. 35 years for me. They just refinanced everything. You talk about something that wasn't a hassle. They are awesome. Nice people. BDST Fan Question Week brought to you by the attorney Ryan Price, 701 West Main Street in Radford. Trust and Estate Planning. Charles Lee and his crew, Little River Heating and Air, 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg, 553-2971. And we are presented each and every day by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Thanks so much to Jonathan Sweet, Tim Miller. Tim will be with us next week. We're going to talk about the event. We're going to try to get him on Monday. So impressed with them. We've already had Jonathan on this week. I love the follow-up messages I get on the professional door text line whenever we have Jonathan Sweet on. It's like, man, that guy's just, he doesn't stop. He doesn't stop. So thanks to them. Thanks to them. All right, good stuff. David Smith will join us momentarily here. Big Dog curling merch coming in 2027, Vic says. You think we could do that? You think like one of the Olympics, they could put the logo like on their, I mean, what do they wear? Long sleeve shirts? I mean, when you're getting suited up for curling, I don't imagine it's as taxing as it is as putting on a football uniform or a hockey uniform. By the way, go Sabres. Took game 1 last night against the Habs. My hockey team figures has the longest drought in playoff history. They went 15 years between playoff appearances. They made it into the second round. They got their first playoff win in the second round last night since 2007. Southwest Virginia to Texas. I once saw an NFL Films thing on Butkus. They were talking to Deacon Jones. Jones said that lots of guys tried to put opposing players in the hospital, but Butkus tried to put you in the cemetery. Yeah, you remember when the Raiders, they had their bounty, and then everybody blew up when it came up with Sean Payton. Everybody acts like, and today everybody was just so offended. And I'm not saying that's the way it should be, but what I am saying is this is the law of the land. We have to get into this with David Smith. He's not only the best guy about what's going on currently in the NFL. I mean, he's a historian. I mean, in lieu of a better term, it was kill or be killed. Those guys didn't. I mean, nobody liked each other. You liked your teammates. Now guys share agents. They ride to the game. Hey, you want to go? Come on. But yeah, I do that a lot. You can learn a lot about the game. You can learn if I tell younger people that I work with, they're in our department, they have no idea who's best. So just go look them up. See, because we grow up, and that's the one thing I do appreciate. Me growing up, I had my dad and my mom telling me about these other folk, Jim Brown in particular. I never got to see Jim Brown play, but once you go back and look at his highlights and you see the reverence people had, you're like, he's the greatest football player that's ever lived. Look at this guy. I'm not going to get into who's the best. It's generational. The game changes so much. I've come to that conclusion. There is no best except for Michael Jordan in basketball. But there is no best like in the NFL. You can go through quarterbacks. You can go through running backs. You can go through receivers. I don't think you can say there's a best. Jerry Rice is the best wide receiver ever played the game. But I think it's difficult. Lawrence Taylor. Now I'm contradicting myself by throwing out so many names. Lawrence Taylor is the greatest defensive football player in the history of the game. And I will fight you. A lot of people at work, they don't know who he is. I'm like, oh, we got a headache. You don't know who Lawrence Taylor is? And then they see the highlight reels, and then they go, wow, okay. Yeah, exactly, for me. That you got to break down every position. I think you got to look at the rules. Yeah, 100%. It's always a fun debate. It's always fun. You never take it too seriously, but it's always fun. It's always fun. My favorite NFL announcer, well, all time for me, it's Pat Summerall and John Madden. I put up a post. It's crazy. The last week alone post I put up on the Big Dog Facebook page got over 460,000 views. Blows my mind. I put one up, and it was just simple. I had a picture of Summerall and Madden, and I said, man, I would give anything just to hear one more game called by these two gentlemen. And people went absolutely just talking about it. So from TV perspective, and by the way, speaking of announcers, I meant to do this yesterday. Rest in peace, John Sterling, longtime voice of the Yankees. The Yankees win. The Yankees win. I know his style wasn't for everybody, but I grew up Southwest Virginia listening to AM radio. And John Sterling at the time was one of the voices of the Atlanta Braves on radio. Before he went to the Yankees, he was with the Braves. He may have had a stop or two in between. But I remember listening to John Sterling he called Atlanta Hawks games. He was really good, really good. And he passed away a few days ago. Yeah, I was going to say, it's funny. I was going to say the same thing. There's only one for college football. Keith Jackson is I can talk about this being a broadcaster. Vin Scully, the greatest baseball announcer ever. There's no argument. You can try, but you're wrong. Some are on Madden for me on TV, and Keith Jackson is the voice of college football for me forever. His setups for the Rose Bowl, you can go watch those, by the way, on YouTube. It gives you chills. It gives you chills. And Mike Emmerich on hockey, we miss him. Great hockey announcer. And I'll tell you, somebody doesn't get enough credit. Marv Albert was great. When I was loving the NBA, man, and I was not just because my Rockets were actually good with Hakeem Olajuwon, but Marv Albert was really good. He was the New York MSG announcer, but he went over to NBC. I loved listening to Marv Albert call NBA games. And now you see what ESPN's turned it into, and go pour the gas on it, put a match on it, boom. Yeah, Howard Cosell in the halftime highlights. I'll tell you what, Howard Cosell was brilliant. If you ever read his book, takes you a lot inside. The relationship between he and Muhammad Ali was so special, so vital for this country at the time. Those guys knew how to market. They worked together. They were really fond of each other. And there's one other non-disputable thing. Muhammad Ali is the greatest boxer of all time, the greatest fighter, not only because of what he did in the ring, but because of what he represented as a person. And I know people are going to talk about the draft and all this stuff, but that guy is the greatest of all time. All right. Sorry. Let's get into other things now with this guy, David Smith.
I don't even want to talk this morning. I just want to keep hearing you. So why are you bringing me on? Let this guy keep spitting facts this morning. Almost everything you said was perfect.
Aren't I spitting facts? What did I miss?
Well, I only caught the tail end. You were talking about Keith Jackson, greatest college voice ever. Yeah. Now you're starting to get into something. Why I started to love all this stuff. I was fortunate enough to play, at Radford and that kind of thing, and so that doesn't put me on the Mount Rushmore of the greatest to ever do anything. It just was a person myself who loved sports, and it started with watching it on TV. And so did you say Kurt Gowdy and Tony Kubiak?
I didn't mention. I didn't go that deep yet. Yeah, okay. I remember. Oh, they were great. They were great.
Garagiola and
Garagiola, Tony Kubiak.
Game of the week.
We had
to one. And so why that was so important to me is my grandfather was a Cleveland Indians fan, largely due, in my opinion, he never really said it, to Larry Doby integrating the American League.
That's right.
So my dad was a Dodgers fan, in my opinion, without ever saying it, probably largely due to the fact that Jackie Robinson integrated the sport. And not only the sport, he changed everything.
He changed it all. Yeah.
But they never really said it. So I'm attaching that now without any fact to it. But that was what it was.
Absolutely.
But what that led me to was listening to games and watching games. And so where I'm from, baseball was huge. It's what I played more than anything.
I remember. You told me that. Yeah.
Played it forever. And that was what all of us played. My dad and my grandfather also played in these little kind of leagues that they would go in and we would watch them play. And that's kind of where our love for baseball came, because that area was also good for it. But back to the voices, Rick, you're right. Keith Jack and Marv Albert, as soon as you said it, I go, well, of course.
Wasn't he great?
No, not great. He's the greatest play-by-play guy.
He was unreal.
Ever. I mean, and he did it until he was, I think him and Vince Scully were in their 80s.
Yeah, in their 80s.
When they finally finished it. And so I'm assuming maybe the John Sterling thing, maybe that was the nostalgia part.
Yeah, we started getting it.
But see, John Sterling also started in Atlanta. What was interesting is John Sterling was on TBS, as we talk about that, and Ted Turner. If you think about the whole connection, ironically, they both passed this week. They both are 87. Yeah. John Sterling started in Atlanta, TBS, back when they had the Superstation, when Skip Carey was calling the games, with the light blue uniforms. Yeah, absolutely. Pete Van Wieren and Ernie Johnson's dad.
Ernie Johnson Sr.
His dad was calling the game. And then Don Sutton ended up showing up later. Listen, we finally got cable where I'm from. And when we turned the TV on, and we had
the greatest night. It didn't matter who they were playing.
It's a game on Tuesday. So
baseball.
My dad and I would sit there, and I think I was kind of coming through high school at the time, right at the beginning of it. And so a game on every night. And then we also had WGN, which had Harry Carey on. Harry Carey, Cubs win. And so we had all that. What was funny about it was in the years after that, you ended up having this guy named Michael Jordan show up. So WGN fell into it again. There's Jordan. Also, they had Ryan Sandberg and the Cubs making their run against your Padres in '84, that whole run. And you had Dominique Wilkins in Atlanta. So TBS had them. So for us, for a kid like me, at that time, I was first couple of years at Radford, I was coming home, turning on those games, and it was great to hear those voices. The voices of those times were legendary. And of course, a lot of radio calls, and I listened to a lot of stuff on radio when the TVs were off. And so, Keith Jackson, Chris Schenkel used to do ABC Wild World of Sports.
And bowling.
And bowling, all of it,
He made me watch bowling. He was so good at bowling.
Great. He also used to call golf, which at that time you could have just, I'm not interested. I've since grown up and started to appreciate it. But Chris Schenkel was great. The voices of our youth, they resonate with us because they were so important to us, and they were just so good. Kurt Gowdy broke my heart because he was a call on the Sea of Hands game when the Raiders beat the Dolphins. I got to get over this at some point, but
Super Bowl III.
I gotta get over this thing. And so you start thinking about all that, and it's just so fun. I never will. I went in the room.
Bud said it last night. Bud said it last night. He goes, "I don't think about any wins." He says, "There are 3 losses that I go to bed and I'll wake up in the middle of the night and think about it." So that's what you're always going to remember. Like for me, if as a Bronco fan, it's going to be that Jacksonville playoff game.
Oh God, you were the 1 seed. Oh, you're the 1 seed, and you were what were y'all like 14-2 or something? It's crazy.
Mark Brunell looks like Joe Montana. But anyway,
oh God, there's no question about it. So I digress off a topic, but I love the voices of my youth, man. They resonate so significantly, and they're just so impactful. I think a lot of it too is because we're so impressionable. We're so impressionable then, but they also were great. So it was a combination of both. It wasn't like we were impressionable about people that weren't great.
That weren't good, right?
The Hall of Famers abound. I mean, you think about it, their craft was so amazing and amazing. And then I had the good fortune of growing up around the Lynchburg Mets. At the time, they were Mets minor league baseball team, so we were able to go see them, and so. You followed your heroes coming through that thing, man, and it was just the best. It was absolutely great.
Well, and that's the way I was raised on AM radio in my house because we didn't have TBS in Dublin at the time. When I wanted to watch the Padres, I had to go to my grandmother's house because she got cable. We didn't have cable yet, but I used to listen to those Braves games, and what they did, it was so great. Those guys we rotated.
That's right.
They would go from the TBS TV broadcast to the radio broadcast. So you get to hear all 4.
You can hear them all.
Great. And they would talk about, hey, we're going to TV. We'll be back. And here comes the other guy. It was so well done. And you learn so much about the craft.
Well, how brilliant is Ted Turner to launch a Superstation? And then the Braves become America's team. And they even branded it as such.
They did.
Like they branded it as such. And we fell in love with the Dale Murphys and the Bob Horners and the Chris Chandlers of the world. I'm just all over it. I mean, when they would wear the light blue uniforms.
Oh, the powder blues.
It was just the powder blues. It was just, I mean, listen, you could take me back there with 2 cents in my pocket, and I'm more happy then than I am now because I didn't know any better.
I know. Well, good stuff. See, I knew. I told him. I said, David Smith, he knows.
And listen,
he knows everything.
You get me started. We'll take this NFL and put it to the side. We can go.
Well, we're going to do
Yes,
draft
sir.
grades right now. And
Yeah,
we're going
we'll
to talk
put this
about
to
the
bed.
AFC because I know you've taken the time to look at it. And
Yeah.
we'll go with where your team resides in the AFC East and who did good and who did not do so good.
Well, the AFC East, which is where everything always starts, because you and I have deduced that in every standing,
Exactly.
it always starts in the AFC East. I don't know why they arrive at that, but you and I agree that in everything you ever read, whether it's an online standing or a newspaper standing, it starts with the AFC East. So we'll do that too. Maybe because it's alphabetical order, Rick. Maybe the A versus the N. But we'll start with who didn't do the best. The Patriots. And again, PFF kind of led me down the road, and I'll give my assessment on what they do. PFF does, like you said last week, a fantastic job of just analysis. No fluff, no frills, data-based. They're just about that. And, of course, what you can do with this draft analysis, once the game starts in September, you could probably put that whole thing in a thimble. But the fact of the matter is, who addressed their needs the best in the draft is really what this is about. And the Patriots probably – were the fourth best in this particular division. It got a C+. And I don't know in a lot of cases that a Super Bowl winning team or Super Bowl runner-up team is ever going to get high accolades at the draft because they probably have fewer needs. Right. A lot of times they address their weaknesses or their opportunities in free agency as well. But I've got New England as a C in this particular draft, got them as the fourth best in the AFC East in terms of relativity to improve their football team. They drafted offensive tackle at their first pick, 28th overall pick. And so they had less things to go get. I think if you're the New England Patriots, how you did in the draft right now is probably way down the list of things of importance in your building. I think right now they're trying to button this thing up a little bit. And I think, as you've said numerous times, it looked like less is going to be done than more. So for the Patriots, we'll put a C+ on their draft and we'll move past it. You got the Bills with the third best draft. They had a B draft, Rick. I am really interested in seeing what the Buffalo Bills are going to do, largely because they have said nothing all offseason. They made the coaching change. They went with Joe Brady. Now Joe Brady's claim to fame was he was the offensive coordinator for the 15-0 LSU Tigers. Now, listen, I'm not saying he wasn't good at it. Again, this is one of those where was the talent great and you part of it, or were you part of the reason why? You had Justin Jefferson, you had Chase, you had Burrow, you had a squad. That group, you can put them up there with those early 2000 Miami Hurricane teams. But Joe Brady gets it now, and Buffalo was really, really quiet. They ended up getting T.J. Parker from Clemson, the edge rusher, with their first pick. They went with cornerback from Ohio State, and they went with offensive tackle. Those picks were in the second and fourth round. So to me, they've done a quiet job. But, Buffalo in general aren't really a noisemaker anyway, Rick. They don't usually make a whole lot of fuss. I think the only thing that I ever heard much about Buffalo in the last couple of years was Josh Allen going to be able to get over the hump, and was Sean McDermott going to be able to keep his job? Other than that, they kept winning the AFC East, and they kept showing up.
0 for 2.
0 for 2. There you go. And I guess the claim to their infamous fame is the game with 13 seconds left against the Chiefs that they should have won, but it wasn't Josh Allen's fault. But he seems to get lumped into that. And so that was a Super Bowl appearance that they should have been, and they didn't. So at this particular point, they get a B for their draft. I got the Dolphins at a B+ with the second best draft in the division, largely because the Jets had so many more picks and so many more needs and addressed them. But Miami had 8 picks in the first 4 rounds, 13 overall. I don't think anybody had more. Miami's tearing it to the studs. We've talked about this before. I think right now, you and I have discussed this too. You either, there's an adage in tennis. You're either at the net or you're at the baseline. If you're in the middle, you're dead. To me, whether they're at the net or at the baseline, they've made a decision on how they want to play it. And so right now, this is the way they've approached it. When they made the move to get Tua out of there and McDaniel out of there, give Stephen Ross credit. He's tired of seeing mediocrity and less than mediocrity. They've been playing for mediocrity, hadn't even gotten to mediocrity, right? So
they're not even at mediocrity.
So the plan was mediocrity or above, and you didn't get to that. Now you're just saying to yourself, let's just blow the whole thing up. And there's some thinking that Malik Willis's deal, while he's embedded as quarterback, it can only be as good as he performs this year, because there's a pretty good quarterback class coming, at which point, if his performance doesn't warrant him getting another year, they'll just blow that up again. And you're not so far away, Rick, that you can't do that, right?
I like
Don't
that.
you agree?
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so they've given themselves options without locking into a guy that you're saddled with. And by the way, Rick, we're still paying Tua about $90-some million for the next little bit.
Hey, welcome to Russell Wilson, baby.
Oh my God. We want to be you all so bad. We want to pay for a quarterback we don't have so bad. Said nobody ever, right? So, and then of course the Jets with their incredible draft, they get an A-. I think this also is going to make Aaron Glenn really have to perform. And you and I, again, I'm being repetitive here.
Agreed.
He's got Geno Smith, and he better be really good. Because if you're Geno Smith right now, what is he, 35 maybe or so?
At least.
And
Yeah.
it feels like he's been around forever. And they went to him just as anxiously as they went to Justin Fields in the other offseason. And they were like, this is they went early and got Geno. But you got all these picks and all these guys around, and they're going to need support, and they're going to need the quarterback to elevate his play. And so with this A- draft that they've got, Rick, and to me, they're the number one overall AFC in terms of who did the best in the draft in the AFC. I got the Jets as the number one overall pick. David Bailey, Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end out of Oregon, and Omar Cooper Jr. from Indiana. I think when you think about what the Jets have done, you got to give them the number one overall, and they're certainly number one in the AFC East.
Agreed. Yep. Real quick before we move to the next one, I was just thinking about this. We'll get into this some other time. Do you think the Bills' window is over under Josh Allen? I don't see a lot of supporting talent there. They gave up on their coach. They got a whole new mindset. They let him pretty much pick the next head coach. Is that desperation? Is it similar to what happened with Elway in Denver with the whole Dan Reeves fallout when they wanted to trade him to Washington? I mean, of the Bills, is that window over? Or is it still open?
I think they still – Josh Allen to me is – because he is so uniquely talented, I don't know that it can be close. Now, if you say over in terms of competing for Super Bowls, here's why I say I'm not sure. Let's think about it real quick. You got the New England Patriots, who's got all that going on. You talk about the Chiefs, who's got Mahomes issues going on. Listen, I'm a fan of what your Denver Broncos and Sean Payton did. Is that something that you can anticipate them duplicating right now? Are you that convinced of the Jacksonville Jaguars? You think about the teams that were in the playoffs last year.
No.
Is there any juggernaut that has you saying,
not one?
I don't know. Not one. Not to me. Now, if you were in the NFC, I would feel a lot differently. If you having to deal with them Eagles, those Niners, those Rams, and those guys, the way the Giants are coming up, all the coaches over there, they're still Green Bay. I don't think Detroit's gone yet. Next week, we'll talk about the NFC. I think there's going to be some folks over there left next year in the NFC. It's going to be left out of the dance that could probably be in the AFC and compete. So to me, I think the AFC is a little more open. It feels like there's a lot more youth infused teams when you start thinking about the AFC versus solidified. So for that reason alone, I feel like Buffalo is not quite gone.
They can stay alive. Yeah.
They can stay alive because who's to say they can't come back and win the division next year if Joe Brady is who they say he is, right? So
looking at the North, is it crazy? Did the Browns win the draft in the North? How do you have this graded?
Crazily enough, Rick, again, winning a draft, it's one of those things where congratulations, you won something you needed to win because because you had the most and you had the best. But even with that, there are still times for teams to be really good in the draft. I know a lot of times really good front offices do a good job of continuing to build. And next week when we talk about the NFC, Howie Roseman and the Eagles always find ways to do that, and they stay competitive. The good teams find pieces that they need, and you go, doggone, he had the 20th pick, and he still got somebody that they need. It's like they can't. So to me, the team that probably did the least was the Steelers at this particular point. Again, they I got them as a C+. They did draft Drew Aller, and to me, that's something to keep an eye on. I feel like, Rick, he's a pretty darn good quarterback. When you think about, he was up there with James Franklin. You think about him, between him and Gronk, who's coming down here to play for Tech. You think about Penn State's quarterback room, it's pretty doggone good last year when you think about it. I feel like there's a lot of people in Pittsburgh that won't be too bothered if he could emerge as a guy that they could count on long term. Now, who knows what Aaron Rodgers is going to do, Rick? We have no idea. He is just, I don't know. Somebody must know something to continue to go this long. And him not have that resolve. Now, he's a free agent, so and this is a 1 year. Well, I'll give him more of a pass than Pittsburgh because you got to get this buttoned up. He's a free agent. It's time to go get it figured out. But in terms of the draft, I didn't think they did as much. I'm concerned about their age as a football team. They kind of needed to get in there and dig deeper. I've got them as a C+. I got them as the 4th best draft. The Cincinnati Bengals, I got them as the 3rd best in their division. And Cincinnati, to hear Joe Burrow talk about it, he's pleased with some of the moves they made, but they made more moves in free agency and trades that I think got them going. They lost Hendrickson, which I know they didn't want to do, but they weren't going to pay him, Rick. They're not going to pay anybody. You know what Cincinnati's going to do. And I think Joe Burrow's kind of lobbed his message to the organization. Not going to stay here much longer. And we settle up in mediocrity. Of course, the front office could say, probably help if you stay healthy too. To which he probably comes back and says, it probably wouldn't bother me if you blocked for me too. So it's one of those, your turn, my turn things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know, well, how about this? Well, you didn't do your part either. So it's hard to believe that team was in the Super Bowl years ago, driving down the field to win it. And since then, they've had some issues here and there, largely due to the fact Joe Burrow can't stay upright. He's been hit and sacked in the top 5 probably as much as anybody in the league. And so when you think about Cincinnati, they address their edge needs, they address their cornerback needs, they address with the center. I think they've got to just continue to build offensive line help. They've got these great weapons. They've got this great offense. But in that division, you know what it's about. You got to stop people too, and their defense is suspect. And so they address some of that in the draft. I got them as the 3rd best draft. I got the Ravens as the 2nd best draft. We talked about successful teams that always end up drafting well, and the Ravens are one of those teams. They do a really, really good job. They ended up getting Vega Ione from Penn State to shore up the offensive line, because with Lamar, he's got to be protected. The way that they play, the way they want to try to run, it's going to be interesting to see Mentor's strategy on the football field this year. This is not Harbaugh's group anymore. I think I heard Zay Flowers being interviewed at the Kentucky Derby. He talks about how the room is filled up with energy again. You know, sometimes, Rick, that is a need. Weirdly enough, you and I like people to stay forever if they've done a good job. And so him and Harbaugh, him and Tomlin both being gone, that's 37 years of head coaching experience in the same division. And so we're going to see what those transitions have meant for the organizations. And so for the Ravens, they also drafted Zion Young out of, I think it was Missouri, as an edge rusher. And they're real excited about that. I don't think the Ravens are going to have any problems. They solidified their needs in the draft. And of course, the Browns won the draft, Rick, in the North. They drafted Fano out of Utah, Concepcion, who you really liked a lot. That's a good pick. And then they got Boston out of Washington, Denzel Boston. So they've done a really good job. But just like we ended the session with the AFC East.
Yeah. What don't they have? The one position that matters.
Only the most important position in sports. And one day we're going to debate that. What's the most important position in all of sports? Is it quarterback?
Oh, that'll be fun.
Is it pitcher?
Point guard?
Is it point guard? Is it catcher? It's a whole lot of ways you could go with that. But as we look at the NFL, it's pretty clear you got to get the quarterback right. So that's my take on the North.
For me, just wanted to ask really quickly here, what was your take? The Ravens are going to give Diego Pavia a tryout. You know, it's interesting. He made himself undraftable. I think I saw a report there were like 23 teams didn't even have him on their draft board anywhere. Things that he said, how foolish he looked at the Heisman Trophy ceremony, the things he said right after the draft. Yet the Ravens are going to bring him in. You think there's any chance this guy sticks, ends up on a practice squad somewhere?
He may. They've got Huntley and they've got Lamar. Those two, after the Ravens have had, ever since they've had Lamar for most of their run as a highly successful football team, is when they've had Tyler Huntley as their backup. He is 1A to Lamar. There are times when you see them in symmetry that when Lamar's not in there. I mean, Tyler Huntley was driving the ball down the field against the Bengals, I believe it was, and was tried to reach it over the goal line in the playoff game, and it gets poked out and they take it back 100 yards. And so other than that, he's had them on the brink. So to me, and he was there, I think, when Mentor was there. So they've got some symmetry. So if he ends up making it, it's going to be as a practice squad player.
Yeah, that's it.
I like him as a college football player. I think he was fantastic for Vanderbilt. I think he did an amazing job. What he did at the Heisman just rubbed me so wrong. What he did subsequent to that, you know, if you don't have enough understanding of the room to want to just diss everybody in that manner, you ought to be grateful anybody wanted to call you.
Correct.
So this chip on your shoulder thing that you carry, he acts like he's the only person that's ever been dissed in the world. Bro, look,
right.
you ought to be you're 5'8" or whatever. This league is filled with people that maybe.
Yeah.
So So this is where the NFL does not want problems. They got plenty of their own. They aren't interested in trying to stockpile those issues. They got rosters that only have 53 players and 46 for games. It is a small. This isn't an 85 unit college football team. I think he ought to be grateful that the Ravens are giving him a shot. I don't know that he's going to land on that football team.
I don't either.
Somebody may take him, and if he can stand in front of a microphone and act like he's got some humility, that may help him a little bit.
Yeah, he went from being my favorite college football player to a guy I can't stand to even think about or look at now because of the way
he opened his mouth and removed all doubt, didn't he?
All doubt, really all gone. All right, how about the South? It's a division that most, let's just face it, most NFL fans, unless you're fans in the cities of that team or you're still a Colts fan from when they were Baltimore, it's kind of a boring division. I mean, but Houston has kind of risen up and they've been that team. They've drafted well. It's a huge year, though, for C.J. Stroud, in my opinion, in that offense. I know the defense is going to be good because of D'Amico, but what about that offense? And did they do anything to address that to help him out? This is a pivotal year. This could be the year that Houston all of a sudden elevates into that team in the AFC.
And it's so funny. We all talk about Houston, but you and I have loved D'Amico Ryans. We love the hire. We love what he did for that city. He played there. That football team runs to him. He makes the playoffs all the time. You don't hear a thing out of Houston. You got Will Anderson, who's unlike Diego, he's a standout guy on the field and off. And so they do an amazing job in their organization. But you bring them up, and here's what we don't talk about: the 13-3 Jacksonville Jaguars.
I know. You said it earlier. We just
we just blow it off. Like, can we count on them? Well, here's the thing: make us believers, right? Make us believers in Duval, right? They were 13-3. They didn't do a lot in the draft, Rick, that we would find really eye-popping. You know, so for me, this is one of those, is the Trevor Lawrence that we saw last year. Is he sustainable in that mode? That football team played really well last year. They did a really, really good job until your Broncos decided it was time for them to go home. But even in that game, Rick, it was a close football game. I think it was 27-20. I think we spoke about that before. Yeah. They addressed their tight end and defensive tackle needs in the draft. Again, I said 13-3, actually 13-4. Forgive me. We now have 17 games. And so they actually won the division. They were first in the division last year, not the Texans. So they end up getting like a CD grade in this, largely because they didn't have as many needs, and they may not have addressed the things that were specific to what their needs were. But as the day ends, they still ended up with about 8 or 9 picks in the draft, so they're stockpiling bodies, which is important at this particular point to get some depth, and maybe they've addressed that. We will see. The Texans and the Titans both ended up with about comparable grades in the draft. The Titans, of course, we know what they needed to do. They had the 4th overall pick, Rick, and kind of surprised us all when they went with the wide receiver, Carnell Tate out of Ohio State, with the number 4 pick. Once again, we spoke about the fact he wasn't even the best receiver on his football team, but it's not his fault that he was sitting at number 4 and someone calls his name. He's going to go down there and give Cam Ward some extra help there. As far as the Texans go, Rick, again, I'm bullish on them. I just like everything that they're about. And what makes them so unique, you talk about a division that doesn't really get a lot of energy, is because they probably are led by Houston with their defensive tenacity. This isn't the sling the ball across the field thing. They don't usually get a lot of primetime games for whatever reason, interestingly enough. But the Jags but the Texans, to me, should be getting that level of attention. And then I have the Colts did a really good job in the draft. And I know I've been championing their start last year. They were 7-1 or 8-1 before the wheels fell off last year, before Jones got hurt. They ended up getting C.J. Allen, the linebacker out of Georgia, and Hasley, the safety out of LSU. They got some defensive needs, and to me, the Colts ended up with the best draft in the South. But that's a division right there that I would not be surprised if the Jags won it. I would not be surprised if the Texans won it. And if the Colts get back a healthy quarterback, I wouldn't be surprised if they're not in the mix, kind of muddying the waters a little bit too. So to me, that whole division, while it may not be sexy, is one that I think is going to bear watching. Yep, for sure. Now I'm gonna head over to the West real quick for you, if I can.
Yeah, I know who won the West. I'm not gonna like it, but I know who won the West.
How the West was.
How won, the West might be won here in the future.
Well, to win the West, you have to lose enough to win the West, and again, this is no surprise to you. Your Broncos probably had the least impactful draft. Rick, you had 7 picks. You went 4 offensive, 3 defensive, and I'm going to give you the platform to speak to your Broncos when I finish this quick part up here. I know we're up on time. The Chiefs probably ended up with a good B draft, Rick, the way I look at it. Again, for me, Kansas City did a really, really good job of addressing their needs. And once they address their needs, they get aggressive with it. They get Mansour Delane with the 6th overall pick. They moved up from 9 to get him. They got Peter Woods, a defensive tackle out of Clemson. And then they got Mason Thomas out of Oklahoma, and edge rusher. So Kansas City went straight defense. You know, you lose your 2 cornerbacks. You address the need by getting a first-round pick at number 6, the former Hokie. And so the Chiefs end up with a B. The Chargers, you talk about a team that has also been laying low. Don't we think it's time for the Chargers to kind of break through now? Don't you feel like at some point there's Harbaugh and there's Justin Herbert.
Come on, Justin.
We kind of give him a little bit, and I'm a fan of the guy.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He does a lot, but at the end of the day, with quarterbacks are almost like pitchers, correctly or not. They're judged by wins, and they're judged by leading teams along. And the Chargers aren't in an easy division. You know, you're dealing with the Chiefs, and you say, "Oh, Mahomes and them are a little down." Well, then the Broncos come up, and you're kind of saying, "Well, why wouldn't the Chargers get ahead of the Broncos?" So we may have been giving them a little bit of a pass. I think the expectations are going to get a little stronger for the Chargers as we start to move into this thing. They address their needs with Messidor from Miami. I think that's going to fit Harbaugh's perfectly. And they got a center in Jake Slaughter out of Florida with their top 2 picks. And the Raiders, hard to beat the Raiders, Rick. They had everything that they needed to have, and they had to nail the draft, and they did. You know, you get Mendoza, he could be a force multiplier for the football team.
Absolutely.
I mean, he really could. They got Stukes, the safety out of Arizona, and then they got the edge rusher Keion Crawford out of Auburn. They are really locked and loaded, and they got, more importantly, they got Tyler Lindenbaum, the center from the Ravens, first-round pick in free agency. So they got their middle buttoned up for the Raiders. The Raiders, to me, had the second best draft in the AFC. Jets were 1, Browns were 3, and I think that the Colts were 4 as we wrap up the AFC in terms of grades.
Regarding the Broncos, I mean, they've plugged and played very well with George Payton being the GM. They find defensive players. I've seen a lot of people. The Onyinyeom kid from A&M, not going to be a star likely, but he could come in and be a guy. You know, they've drafted guys that people don't talk about a lot of their defensive picks, but they have one that's an all-pro that came out about the same time. The Casey kid, the tackle out of Boise State, people are loving that pick. He's going to have to work on the edge. The one, though, that's got me intrigued there's 2, but Jonah Coleman, the running back out of Washington.
Yep.
People are loving that pick universally. They don't know why he fell to the 4th round. You know, he's a guy that could immediately. I know. And they drafted, last year it didn't. We'll see. But they like him a lot. And the kid I really am excited about offensively is Justin Jolly, the tight end at NC State. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the joker for Sean Payton's offense. He's been looking for that joker at tight end. So it wasn't sexy. You're right. They kept trading down. They traded their first pick. But you know what? Who makes the whole draft? Thank you, David Smith. Jalen Waddle makes the Broncos draft a little higher than most people consider. But,
You're welcome. You're welcome.
We'll see.
You're welcome.
We'll see.
Anything to help you, guy. Anything to help you. Anything to help you. As we're dumping salary, it's one of those mixed bags. I know it's going to be better long term. It's like I tell my daughter who's got 2 young kids. You got to play the young game. You know you're not going to sleep right now. Play the long game. Well, I've got to take my own advice. We got to play the long game right now. And so I'm glad to be able to help you guys stay at the top while we mire in the mud. So don't forget about us back here, right? Don't forget about us. Yes,
that's right. So I am counting Waddle as part of our draft. How's that? I'm going to do that.
As you should. And so once we get the NFC draft done next week, schedule release will probably come out later. Then we can maybe start to feel like who we know is coming in free agency, combine all this, and then we'll make some picks on who we think is going to end up at the top of the divisions. Now that we know that once we know the whole rosters, you got it.
Great stuff. Great stuff as always, my friend. You're the best. Absolutely. No question.
My guy.
People chat are like, David is the best. I said, yeah, I've been trying to tell you.
we do the best we can, brother. We do the best we can. NFC's coming up next, man. We'll see how you feel about me then.
That's right. Eagles, Cowboys fans, get ready. Get ready.
Here we go. Here we go. Yes, sir.
All right. Listen, have a great weekend.
You too, brother. Appreciate you.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Great stuff.
Yes, sir.
There you go. David Smith, you're not going to find any NFL analysis any better, especially from the morons who show up on TV. Just say it the way it is. That's just anyway, I won't use that kind of language in the morning. Good stuff as always. Yeah, I'm excited about Jolly from NC State. Chat's rolling. Text line's rolling. Good stuff. We always keep rolling with this gentleman. He is the lead writer for Tech Sideline. He is Andy Bitter. What's up, AB? Good morning.
Not much. How you doing?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. And so much to get to. Is today the opportunity you get to sit down with Whit? Is that right?
Yeah, it'll be this afternoon. So we'll see how that goes.
Is there one question you're just dying to ask him to hope to get a good answer about?
I just, big picture. Why do you think you could never figure out football?
Ooh,
right?
yes.
I think why was that just the one sort of bedeviling problem here for 14 years or 12 years that he's been here and even longer than that? Why has it been such a tough thing to get back on track? Because that's been the primary thing, obviously, right? I mean, that's the reason you hire somebody for this position. Every AD knows that's the one thing that they have to get right. And what does he think is the biggest reason why it just has not been able to get back? And is it money? Is it administrative help? Is it the coaching hires? Perhaps now that he's got a little over a month here left, I wonder if there's just a truth serum to it that he can just unburden himself of any kind of thing he wants to say. So we'll see what he has to say.
Where do you rank his legacy or his success rate? You're right. He failed on football. The biggest thing he was brought here to maintain and build into the future. It didn't happen. It made a good hire on paper the first time, had a good first couple of years, and then it just completely collapsed. Pry was, let's just say, was a disaster as a head coach. What do you think? How do you look at his legacy as the athletic director?
I mean, it's like everybody. When you look at something, you have to take the entire picture and look at everything that he did while he was here. And it wasn't just football. I think basketball was successful early on. And his hires that he made there on both sides. I mean, Buzz Williams, Mike Young, Kenny Brooks, Megan Duffy now I think is on the right track. I think that's successful. You also have to look at the current state of basketball, though. The men's program is just not there. And again, I go, is that Mike Young's fault or is that just a funding issue? And,
right.
Yeah, it's probably a combination of two. Mike Young has to coach the team that he's given, but you also have to, support the program with the right kind of players. So, as much as people want to look at these programs and this athletic director and go, this is this guy's fault. It's not a single person to blame for this whole thing. Sometimes it's a group of people that didn't do their jobs correctly. Well, sometimes it's just a situation that, a pandemic hits and what do? Right. I think, people like to blame a lot of people in charge for what happened when the pandemic hit. I'm just making a comparison here. It's like, well, anybody would have struggled when the pandemic hit. So, you see this money and, the pandemic was part of this whole thing with an athletic director. But also, things changed drastically in college sports and money became so much more important. And Virginia Tech is a place that just doesn't have as much as some of the other places. And I'm not excusing that for football performance because you look at places like Duke, other places, Pitt has won an ACC title. I don't think that's a better resource school than Virginia Tech, but I also think you have to look at this and go, there are some other forces here that are not just, personality driven or individual people for the reasons that this thing has not gotten going.
Agree. I 100%. People need to be responsible for not doing the jobs that they're hired to do. You can't always just say, we don't have money. It's always such a convenient thing now. We don't have the resources. How can I win? Well, how about being a good football coach or a good coach, right? Or a good administrator.
Right. And, it's, but they didn't have the, Pry got here and they didn't have the money to hire coordinators. It's like, well, Indiana made it work with Curt Cignetti, and you look at how much he cost when he first got there. Now, granted, he's gotten a huge raise since then, but
yes.
When he and his coordinators first got to Indiana, they were paid about the same as Pry and his coordinators, and maybe $1 million difference. That wouldn't be prohibitive. So, people say, well, hands were tied when he was hiring Brent Pry here. It's like, no, he just didn't make a good hire.
Right.
Exactly. If you hire Signetti and his assistant coaches who are in demand now and also got big raises, then maybe the situation is a lot different. So, there are just missteps along the way, and it'd be curious, see what kind of self-reflection and looking back again, as I've said, he's unburdened by the future now. Perhaps you can speak a little more freely on this stuff.
Your mailbag is always entertaining with some good stuff this week in particular on those. What was the answer to the question? Boy, you get a lot of emotional response about John Boleyn's legacy in Blacksburg.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like Witt. I think there was sort of a shifting boogeyman at Virginia Tech, and people want to blame somebody for the football program's failures. And it was Jim Weaver didn't support the program, didn't spend enough money, or Frank Beamer didn't retire, or Bud didn't get a shot. Fuente wasn't a good hire. Pry wasn't a good hire. Babcock didn't support the program. Tim Sands didn't like athletics. The Board of Visitors. I mean, whatever. Pick your boogeyman du jour, and that's what it was. And I think Boleyn got roped into that at some point. And the ESPN article had something to do with it. I'll be honest. I didn't think that ESPN article was fair. I didn't think it was framed correctly. I know for a fact that they had a different angle that they wanted to go with first, and it didn't pan out, and they had to pivot on that, and they found a new, big bad that they had to put up there. And somehow it became John Boleyn, who was like, yes, he could have supported Fuente and his assistants and his whole staff better, and I think there was friction there, but it wasn't the reason this program has struggled for 14 straight years and continued to struggle past Fuente's time here. Boleyn hasn't been involved in football directly in a while. I mean,
right.
scheduling stuff that still kind of carries over till now, but he hasn't been the sport administrator in 5-6 years, something like that. So you're still going to blame him for that? I mean, at a certain point, people have to let that go. And yes, he had a hand in some of the issues that they had, but he is also, as I mentioned, he's a chapter in the book that I wrote as an effective administrator and right-hand man for Frank Beamer, who was sort of his, get things done guy that Frank had back in the day. So this idea that this guy that's been here for 40 years is somehow just bungling everything up, I don't buy it. Like, yes, there was the thing with Fuente could have been better, but the way that he's been villainized recently and people seem to act like he's the reason for all the troubles in the program, I just don't buy it. I've been here for 15 years now. I think I have a decent sense of that.
Well, no surprise with this next information, but last night I got invited over to the Blacksburg Sports Club. Bud was speaking. I was on stage with Mike Burnett. Mentioned you guys a lot, by the way, Tech Sideline and his new podcast with you. But
hopefully good things to say.
It was good thing. It was good. He said he's having a great day. He said all he did last week was talk about Hall and a DB. He goes, I was in heaven just talking about this guy.
That show is just like hey,
he loved it.
Let's remember some dudes.
Yeah.
That's what I think of. It's like Will and Chris are just like, Xavier DB, go.
Go. We're going to step out now, Coach. We'll be back in 20 minutes.
Starts talking. D'Angelo Hall, talk.
But he even put more emphasis on how much of an influence James Franklin's going to have on this AD hire. Like, it is, I mean, in short, it sounds like it's going to be his hire. I mean, I know it's not going to be, but I didn't realize. I knew he was going to have influence, but boy, apparently it's going to be, and it's already been discussed, he's going to have major influence. Does this mean, in your opinion, I guess my question about that, we're not surprised by that news, but does this mean it's more likely to be somebody maybe he's familiar with? What do you think?
I mean, it would make sense if it's somebody he's familiar with. And remember how the board would talk about hiring a general manager. Like, I'm going to hire him first, and then the head coach. And then they realized what a horrible idea that was. They hired the head coach, and James Franklin's like, "Here's my general manager," and he's coming with from Penn State.
Right, he's been with me forever. Yeah.
I don't know that. I don't know if that'll be the case in administrative circles. If he's got like a person that's like, this is my ride or die that I've had from other stops, because I don't think he's worked with a ton of different ADs. There's only been a handful of people, and those people retire at certain points. But if it's somebody he's familiar with or knows he can work with, I think that's going to be key, because that relationship has to work. You can't have friction there. That is where a lot of problems arise. So those two people have to sort of be in lockstep. So yeah, I would imagine as somebody that James at least knows a little bit about, or is familiar with his or her work, supportive of that mission, and they probably have to have the same kind of vision for an athletic department.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Yeah, I agree with that. Well, it's interesting, and he took us through the hire and so forth, and they all wanted to talk to Bud because he's the football guy. He's the one entrenched. They didn't really pay attention to the committee. They didn't really like the committee. He was talking about that. So very interesting, very interesting. All right, we got to get into the playoff. I know you have some very strong feelings about it. I'm with you. I can't believe if you're going to go from 12, maybe 16, you could go, okay, but boy, to double it up immediately, that's where they're going.
I mean, it's the same thought I have about the basketball tournament last week. I mean, if you just want to replay that rant that I had from last week, it's the same argument. It's needless expansion and including teams in this thing that don't deserve to be in it. We've already proven that the 24th ranked team in the country does not deserve a shot to win the national championship. Last year, weirdly, it was JMU, which I didn't think deserved to get in. I know they have the rules and the weird thing with the ACC, and that's why they made it. But, that first round game was a joke. It wasn't close. And all the JMU people will be like, they came back in that game. It's like, yeah, well, they're down 50-0. That's when they started coming back. I think I saw a mock-up for what the 24 team would look like, and Pitt was the 24th seed. And I think Pitt went 8-4 last year. So we're having 4 lost teams that are in the national championship bracket. Pitt has proved many times over during the season that it does not deserve a shot to win the national championship. And I think if given 100 opportunities, Pitt doesn't come anywhere near the national championship game. So if we're doing that, we're watering down this field so much. They're going to eliminate conference championship games for this. I don't know. It seems like a couple of, 7th and 8th place conference teams or whatever, maybe not that low, 5th or 6th place teams playing off on championship game weekend. I wouldn't want to watch those games as much as I'd want to watch Georgia, Alabama to see who wins the SEC. So this notion that, more is better or expanding this is going to be some great opportunity for these teams, I just find it to be a boneheaded decision.
Have there been any numbers for research? I know they're doing it for financial possibilities, right, to try to counter some of the money that's going out to pay football and basketball. Have you heard any number? I haven't even seen what they project this could bring in terms of revenue, which I'm guessing is why they're doing it.
Do they think a couple million more is going to solve the financial? They have a spending problem. They don't have a revenue problem.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
Like all these people this is how you save the non-revenue sports. It's like, no, it's not. The money's going to come in and it's going to go to football and basketball. It's just more money that you're going to put in those two sports. And I did this never end private equity. You got any private equity? It's like you're just all that money is just going. You think the players don't understand that this money is coming in, that you can spend it on them? That's where all this money is going. So all these administrators that fool themselves into thinking that this will be these extra $10 million. This will save the day. No, it won't, because you just spend it on things that you've already prioritized that are more important. And people are like, this will go to save women's tennis. It's like, if you want to save women's tennis, you just spend money on it right now. And you wouldn't look at it in a, revenue versus, profit versus how much money you're losing. A school's chemistry department doesn't exist because it makes money. It exists because it's a thing that you find valuable at your school.
Right.
You can enhance students' lives by having it. If you want to have a tennis program, just fund it. The other part I don't like about how they're eliminating all these sports is they're like, well, women's tennis is too expensive to have. It's like, well, you expanded the football conferences so much to be cross country that, Virginia Tech's tennis has to go travel to Stanford or something to play. It's like they should be playing Radford. I don't know.
Yes.
Do they have a tennis program? I don't even know.
Absolutely.
They should be playing locally, and then you wouldn't have all these ridiculous costs associated with this thing. So, football is the problem sometimes with this. But getting off track, the expansion thing, I thought it was funny that the AFCA, the football convention, their coaches association, is like, we're for the biggest possible thing. It's like, right, like, fourth grade students vote to have candy for lunch all the time. Like, what do you think they're going to say? Of course they're going to say that. It's in their best interest to have these, an expanded playoff. It looks better on their resume to say I was in the playoff field rather than I went to the ReliaQuest Bowl.
Yeah, right.
So I think we need to have some adults in the room, and there aren't. The people in charge are the conference commissioners and the administrators who are heavily influenced by their coaches. And the two power commissioners are pushing for this thing that nobody wants. I mean, I know Twitter polls are bogus, but
exactly, yeah.
Just look at the response you get to this. Nobody is pushing for this thing. And in the basketball side, the only people pushing for it are named Seth. It was Seth Davis and Seth Greenberg. The first kind of seems to be bought and sold by the basketball industry, and the second never made the tournament when it was 64 teams. So maybe there's a reason why he would be looking at it.
Right.
So,
that's right.
I don't like this. I think it just adds a few more mediocre teams to this process and adds a layer and a round that is not going to be any more entertaining or decide who the national champion is going to be.
No, 100%. I mean, I agree. And today the basketball tournament's going to be ratified. I saw that's going to happen. It looks like it's going to become official. And so this is going to happen, right? If the coaches want it, like you said, nobody's doing their job. There's no big boy in the room that's going to try to bring any. They're just going to do it, aren't they? Just going to steamroll it right through.
The only thing that gives me some hope is I see this Big 12 private equity deal that they've done.
Yeah.
Private equity is just such a stupid idea in college sports. It's like, believe me, I've been part of some companies that private equity has dabbled in, and they've ruined the product. They gut it. They look for profit, and then they, set people on the side and just, fire them and cut it down to the bare bones. And that's going to happen in college sports if private equity gets involved. Don't buy all the language like, oh, they don't have a controlling stake of this. People don't put money into something unless they expect a return on it. How do you get a return on it? You strip it down to its essentials and make it a profit-making machine. There are some schools out there, I think 3 of them now, that have announced that they will decline this private equity money.
Yeah, I saw that. That's interesting.
So in my mind, I go, hey, there's still light in there. This is like Darth Vader, over. He's like, no, I'm overcoming the dark side here. Like, no, there's still something in there that's still hope. Yeah. So maybe that is a sign of encouragement that somebody will do something level-headed in this for the betterment of sports and the betterment of the game instead of just the betterment of their wallet. Do I think a majority of schools will do that? No, but hopefully there's some voices out there that will try to talk reason into this thing. And 12 works. We've done it 2 years. It's been a great product both years. And yeah, every game is not fantastic, and they screwed up the seeding in the first round. And I'll be honest, I don't think JMU deserved to be in it last year. But, you tweak it a little bit. You keep it at 12. Conference championships still mean something. You get a bye in that first round. Just tighten up the schedule a little bit so you don't go until late January with these games. I think it could work. I don't know why we got to change it. I think 12 works. Give it some more time. I think people will like it more.
Yeah, agreed. Before we let you go, Brandon's asking AB on the topic of future expansion. People are feeling like that's going to happen at least one more time. What's the better fit long term for Virginia Tech if they do get invited somewhere, the SEC or the Big Ten?
Culturally, I'd say the SEC. I mean, I've covered both conferences in college, and I grew up in the Big Ten, and then I covered all of them for 3 years in the SEC. I just think that the way that Virginia Tech thinks about its football, it feels more like an SEC school than the other one. I think it fits culturally more. It would make more sense to me to see Virginia Tech traveling south to play all these games rather than, I know there's the Northeast thing with the Big East in the past, but like Virginia Tech going to Minnesota feels weird to me. Whereas Virginia Tech going to Texas A&M does not in the same way. So I think the SEC would be a better fit. I think in the past, with the past president, sure, he would have thought the Big Ten is a better fit, coming from Purdue and having that, engineering background.
Yep.
And that, whatever school president they put in there will probably think the same way. I think Big Ten schools a little bit more academically respected than the SEC schools. You look at the rankings that they have out there. So perhaps there's a difference of opinion there, but I think the SEC would be a better fit. Now, I don't know if they get there. I don't know if invites are ever going to go out. People keep talking about the race to expansion. I'm like, why? SEC and Big Ten have everything they want and such a huge advantage. Why would those schools vote to add more teams to join their club of exclusivity? But who knows? It might be a situation where they can get enough money from a renegotiated TV deal to make it worthwhile.
All right. Well, we look forward to the results, man. Your sit down today. I hope it goes well. I hope he's forthcoming. I hope, like you said, why not? Why not be at this point? Just answer questions.
Yeah, we'll see.
Answer questions. What else you working on coming up this weekend for people to keep an eye on Tech Sideline?
Kind of just that. I got to get through that, and my class is wrapping up. Had a last meeting on Monday, but I have just a mountain of stuff to grade by next week. So I got a lot to do.
All right, brother. Listen, stay safe. Have fun today. I hope it goes well, man.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Have a good weekend. There you go. Andy Bitter from Tech Sideline. Great stuff, as always, from AB. Appreciate that. Yeah, I agree with – I think everything you said there is correct. For me, too, Brandon, SEC, just in terms of matchups and excitement that would create for Tech fans, you're going to get much more excited about Southern matchups against powers than you will the Big Ten. Sure, you'd get excited about Michigan, Ohio State, and maybe now even Indiana. But and of course, Tech fan would get excited about Penn State with the connection there with James Franklin. But I mean, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina. I mean, there's so many games. Can you imagine a Saturday at Lane Stadium with the Alabama and Crimson Tide coming in? Or Kirby Smart bringing the number 1 ranked Dogs. Can you imagine? Wow. They could jump ticket prices by 50%. People would just eat them up. I want to thank the NRV Super Bowl sponsoring this program, 540-382-5525. That's Terry Steichen Company. We're going to have our bash over there. Reserve your weekend lanes today. 25 years they've been helping the community. Alex Guerre from Radford Baseball going to join us here momentarily. Sundown Electric, one of the best reputations of any business around down in Elliston. Low cost as much as they can. Always honest about the work. Never add to the work they don't talk to you about. Reach out to them. ReadySetFund.com. The Ready Set Fund is Bob Christ, BOBCRST11 at Gmail. Bob is terrific, trying to help organizations and school events. Whatever it might be, they're there to help you. We're presented each and every day by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Thanks to Jonathan Sweet and Tim Miller. Had Jonathan on this week. We're going to have Tim on, I believe, on Monday to talk a lot more about everything that's going on with this the kayaking, and we'll talk more racetrack. We'll talk what's going on the water, and then the bikes, the BMX. I mean, it's exploding. Little River Heating and Air, 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg, 540-553-2971. Thanks to Charles Lee and Company. The attorney, Ryan Pryor, BDST Fan Question of the Week, 701 West Main Street in Radford, Trust and Estate Planning. National Bank member FDIC, the exclusive banking partner for me and for this program. Thanks so much to Lara Ramsey. Professional Door Incorporated, Travis Williams up in Dublin, right across from New River Community College. 38 years in business, residential, commercial garage doors. Better than anyone in the biz. Trust me. If you have a garage door, you need some help, give them a call. Thanks to James Lawson. Since 1997, Lawson's Mobile Home Supply, located at 300 North Franklin Street in Christiansburg. Give James a call, 540-381-8011. Family Fencing is the sponsor of our studios right here each and every morning during the week that we're here. Thanks so much to Jason Green and Company. Get a free quote, 540-200-8294. And Mark Hundley, McClellan Chiropractic. Go get your body fixed with Mark right off of Walters Drive, 155 Walters Drive. Check out the new technology. They don't have to lay a hand on you anymore. Put you in the machine, let the machine go. Brandon at Top Shelf Apparel, thank you. Everybody, Steve at the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce. Great stuff. Great stuff. Hey, Wayne, there you go. Vacation boy. He's back. Steven, the Georgia Tech guy. To hell with Georgia. Morris says the SEC from a sports perspective, the worst choice. Well, and even more specifically, SEC for a football perspective, maybe. The regional fit is what makes more sense, but has the Big Ten surpassed it in football? Are they on their way? We'll see. Basketball-wise, clearly the Big Ten is a much better league than the SEC. Baseball would be SEC hugely. Softball, there's some really good Big Ten programs, but for the most part, the SEC would win that too. But yeah, academically, no doubt, it would be the Big Ten. Exactly. Exactly. Who cares about academics? That's just crazy talk. When's the last time you heard about academics at any of these schools? Right? Yeah, thanks, Wayne. Yeah, it was great. It was fun last night, man. We had a great time. We'll show them again right here. It was great to finally get to meet Coach Elmo. There is myself in the middle. There's Coach Elmo. He stole the show last night in Burnham. I had a great time with those guys, and there he is, Coach Foster and myself and Coach Elmo. Coach Foster got a little bit emotional talking about the influence that Phil Almatian had on his coaching life. Great stuff. Absolutely wonderful stuff. And it was a fun time last night. Thanks to Louise Baker for asking me to go. And I met a lot of nice people that don't ever hear from that know what the show is. A lot of people were asking about the show. And as I announced, by the way, talking to Bud, he didn't know where the show had gone. He knew we weren't on the radio anymore. He said, "Where the hell are you?" "We're on YouTube." He goes, "Well, let's put the band back together." So Coach Foster will be part of BDST going forward. I'm going to talk to him next week, and we're going to develop it and get this thing going. So, yeah, it's going to be exciting. Going to be exciting. No problem, AG. I just sent the invite. Things like what coaches go through. Had to get the laundry done, had to get the uniforms done for the guys. He's headed back to the office now. See, these jobs start for these coaches, places like Radford. You got to do the laundry, right? What's up, Christopher Lester? Good to see you. What's up, Brian Oliver? Now that you're retired, you don't have to tune in at 6. Well, you can go back and find us later. But no, it was fun last night. We'll let you know more about what Bud's going to do. He was a great speaker, very honest about what's going on with the president and the AD. And the new AD hire is going to be, if you just read between the lines, is going to be James Franklin's hire. So we'll see. We'll see. Tebow, what's up, Tebow? If you think tickets are high now, see what happens. Exactly. Can you imagine? Hey, who's coming in on a Saturday night? That's Georgia. Oh. Who's that Friday night game? Tennessee. Wow. Good morning, Rodney. How are you? Rodney Young. Yeah, I think what we talked about last night, Wayne, was the first time that Coach Foster comes on. He will be on with Coach Elmation. You know how we had Marty and Ragers. By the way, people are still talking about it always is. It always outdoes the previous time they were on. And this past Wednesday show, they went for the full hour and a half. I don't even schedule anyone after them anymore. We went overtime. We went to like 8:50 on Wednesday. That was yesterday. That was just yesterday. I don't know why I'm acting like this was 3 days ago. But yeah, we're going to have, like we had Marty and Rags, we can have, Foster and Elmo. Just me staying out of the way. Out of the way. Yeah. Yeah. It was great. Marty always sends me a text. He goes, man, I don't know. I can never tell you how much I appreciate what we do every month. So Marty was asked about 47. It was the play, Marty's favorite play at Giles. Coach, we went into like a half hour. It branched out. It fit perfectly, but he never addressed 47. In the morning, he goes, well, Coach, let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask it again. But the way he said it was so funny. So funny. And then he got into 47. Yeah, the Jim Thorpe stuff. Yeah, he got into Jim Thorpe. Tell you what, man, Coach Ragsdale's amazing. Got to see Dave Chris last night. He looks great. He and Faye, two of my all-time favorite people. Worked over there. Was called Blacksburg games for 3 years on the radio. And we talked about those days. And much like with Coach Linneberg and, obviously with Coach Hicks, who I knew very well, wherever I've gone, special days going to the old Bill Brown Stadium and just hanging out with Coach Chris with the interviews. We'd walk the field and do the interview. He always liked to, the Dwight Eisenhower stuff was great. It was great. Fans are asked to pay more and more. Ticket prices skyrocket. $15 beers. Yeah, I would never drink a beer for $15 unless I was a multi-billionaire. Oh, sure. Give me that one. Yeah, getting back to 47. I got off track there. And Marty was just cackling. But, Marty does extremely well, obviously, and he's just signed a new deal, and he gets to go to all these places. But he sends me a text. He goes, Rick, I'm telling you again, I've told you this a dozen times, nothing that I'm doing I enjoy more than that time with Coach. And as he said, it means a lot. It means a lot. In Coach Rag's mind, it feels like he could have still been coaching. And David Mabry was watching and sent me the play of the kid from Narrows. It was all about Harry Ragsdale. You need to see it if you haven't watched it. The origins of the wing tee, where it came from, which is why he started talking about Jim Thorpe. And I'm telling you, man, it was awesome. It was awesome. Rick hobnobbing with royalty. You won't have time for us now. That was fun. And, and Bud was up there, referenced the show, and I was like, hey. I did the little turn and wave. You get the, people not really quite sure who you are. So you don't really get the big applause. You kind of get the, hey, Rick Watson, ladies and gentlemen, Big Dog Sports Talk over here. Yeah, I didn't get this. That's what Bud got, and Coach Elmo gets right there. See the difference? There's your big timer.
Oh no! Oh no! That was out of nowhere.
I'm going to try to, I haven't utilized that yet in the baseball broadcast. My last chance is this weekend for the Asheville series. So I'm going to see if I can do that. I'm going to throw in and, oh no. That was out of nowhere. I do too, Brian Oliver. Yeah, the new one's fine, but it's not the same. I love the old one. I like the old press box. I love the grass at Bill Brown. I love those bleach. I don't know. It was. I understand they had to upgrade. I get it. Yeah, Marty was great at the Masters. But fun times last night over there. And, so we'll keep you updated on we don't know when Bud's going to start being on the program, but we'll work it out. I'm guessing it'll probably be sometime in June. We'll debut that. yeah, he was all over. He was all over. Talked about some of the most fun times he's had doing that when he first was really getting going doing media stuff. Now he's so good. He's such a natural. He came on the show and it was just a radio show back 2002, 3, 4, 5. He was on every week. So, yeah. So keep an eye on that, and we'll have that for you coming up. Plus, we still have 2 announcements we haven't even talked about yet. So we're, doing our thing. Always doing his thing is that guy. It's Alex Guerra, the head baseball coach at Radford University. What's up, AG? Good morning.
Morning, Rick. I look forward to your intro, your first line every week.
It's fun, isn't it?
A little bit different, yeah.
Well, we are getting down the home stretch, and we got our final home series in the Big South. You guys have been terrific in home conference series, and Asheville's coming in, not having a great year, but you throw that all out the window. They have a really good, one of the best hitters in the league. They've got a pitcher who's been named the starting pitcher of the week, so they've got some guys that are performing well coming to Radford, and now is where, I know you'll do it, but your guys are going to have to – it's tournament time, man, and mindset a little bit, right, this weekend.
Yeah, you're killing me. You're killing me.
Sorry.
You're killing me. Look, they're a dangerous team. They haven't been swept all year in the league. They're going to fight. They're going to compete for all 3 days. All 3 days. If you leave them an inch, they're going to take a mile. I think if you give them a lead, or if you don't extend your leads, you're going to have a tough time finishing them off. We got to play every pitch. I saw a stat yesterday I thought was really interesting. 21 of their 31 losses are by 5 or more runs, and 14 out of their 19 wins are by 5 or less. So what I take out of that, to me, is that if you get on them and you're able to extend, I think you put yourself in a really good chance to win. If you let them hang around, man, you give them some momentum, it's going to be a dogfight. They're going to ride their starters out. All their starters are going to throw 100-plus pitches. They compete. They really do. I think their numbers are a little bit. I don't think they're indicative of how good they are. First year head coach Alex Rayburn, he was an assistant at JMU, played in North Carolina.
Yeah.
He was an assistant at Ryder, was an assistant at Elon as well. So he's worked for 3 head coaches that have a combined almost maybe 3,000 wins, and played for obviously Mike Fox and Scott Forbes at North Carolina. So his pedigree of baseball is really good. He's got a good young staff, and they're going to be prepared. They do some different things offensively. They run in some weird times, like they'll steal third in a 3-0 count. They'll double steal and hit and run. They'll push bunt. They'll steal home off of a lefty. So, and they've got a couple hitters in there that if you miss, they're going to punish you. So like anything else in this game, we've got to go out there. We've got to take it. We've got to earn it. We got to play one pitch at a time, and we got to finish similar to what we did on Tuesday. I thought that was one of the better wins I've been a part of.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah,
that was a great.
Their record is not by any means a rite of passage for us to just expect that they're just going to lay down and we're just going to win. I mean, I'd like to think we've learned our lesson plenty of times.
Yeah, that's this is one of those things, looking at them, that it sounds like a cliche, but don't let the record, that's not indicative of the type of team they truly are. If other things would have come together. And you mentioned Tuesday, that was terrific. It was 10-6, and I fell asleep, and I got up, and I'm like, oh, cool. They put up 6 in the 8th, man. That is a good one. You sweep a very good team. You sweep a defending champion, Southern in the SoCon.
That's right.
And you get a sweep like that to come back, and now you got that momentum right going into the weekend. That was a really, really, in a lot of ways, that's your best midweek win. Easy for me to say, because here we are down the stretch, right? I mean, I thought that was a terrific win for you on Tuesday.
Yeah, we've done really well in the midweeks.
You have.
We've played well, other than the 2 games against Virginia Tech. I
Right.
feel like we've done a nice job competing in the midweek, which I'm really proud of the guys with. I think it's things like that when you're able to combine midweek wins and having good practices during the season to be able to create good momentum as you prepare for the weekend series is very important. We started out, we were up 6-1. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, we just did some really uncharacteristic things. Mason Self has been unbelievable for us in the role of kind of that fireman, coming in with guys on base. Yeah, and he just had one of those days where he just kind of lost it, and I had a couple innings there where we just gave up some too many free bases. Next thing you know, there's a double. Next thing you know, there's an extra base hit. And you look up, and it's 10-6. And they score 9 unanswered. Until we went into the 8th inning, and our guys did great, man. They just kept playing. They kept playing. They kept competing. They kept battling for pitches. The thing that I liked the most was a lot of times when you're down, guys go up there and they give you the old cliche, like, oh, I'm just trying to do too much.
Yeah.
Trying to do too much was like my least favorite line in coaching. I don't know what that means. Like, you're trying to do too much. Like, what do you mean? You're undersized. You have no home runs, and you're trying to hit a home run. Like, I'm confused. What do you mean by that? I felt like we did a really good job of taking it one at bat at a time and just passing the bat. It was a base hit, a walk, another base hit, another 2-strike hit, like a bunch of singles in a row, hit by pitch, double. Next thing you know, it's a tie game. And then we get one of those, and then we get a couple pass balls for a run that you feel like you've seen that 1,000 times on the other side. So it was nice to get some good fortune, go our way. But our guys are tough, man. I gotta be honest. Like, this is a tough team. They're resilient. I mean that with all sincerity. Like, this is a bittersweet weekend for me because it's an opportunity to celebrate our seniors.
Yeah.
But we get to the point where we've got a lot of exciting things coming up. But it also is coming down the end. That one's hard. I look at like a Ben Keefe.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to get emotional about it, but that kid's been here since day one. He's seen me as a head coach from day one. When he probably looked at me and was like, man, this guy is out of his mind. Knowing that it's coming down the end of hitting ground balls, Hunter Keenan shortstop, right? Those are some tough things. B-Wit, like the story that Brady Whitaker has been on and what he's done for our team and the Whitaker family, right? It's just some really special seniors. Josh Millville, his story and what he's done for this team on and off the field. And pitching in a variety of different roles and the impact he's made. And obviously DQ, which it might be a bonus if we get him back next year. Who knows? I think that old body his is probably starting to wear now. Recruited him at JMU as an assistant.
Right.
Our staff, right? Like, he commits to us. And then next thing you know, I'm leaving when he's coming in. I'm coming here to be head coach. So there's a lot of, sentimental thoughts that I have with this group. But man, they're tough. Like, they're a tough team. Like, they compete, and and it showed up on Tuesday. It showed up on Tuesday. Like, you're down 4 on the road to a defending conference champ, as you said, a regional team, a top 3 team in the SoCon, a really good baseball league. They're 19-3 at home. You're not supposed to, on paper, why should you win? You should win that game. But, the way they came back just gives me a lot of confidence in what this team can be going into the home stretch,
Well, it is. It's always emotional. This is going to be even more so because of those guys and who they are and what they stand for as individuals. But as Wayne said, everything that you've gone through as a family this year, obviously, and the fact that this team has held together due to the large part of the leadership of all those guys that you mentioned. And I'm not ready to see number 13, not in not at the 6th spot. I don't want that to end either. I mean, I'm like you. It's like, no, that can't happen. Can't we just get them all an extra year? Can't they just all come back?
You know what? Yes, I'd love that. But it's crazy that we did get that bonus year with Hunter.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we had the opportunity to have him from here to here. But yeah, it's when you build relationships with players and you really enjoy coaching a group and they give you everything that they've got and you go through these trials and tribulations, and obviously it's been well documented, all the different things that we've gone through, even going back to last year, the field and that whole situation. This program has had some adversity, and these guys have been at the forefront of it, and they've been in the heart of helping us recover from anything that we've gone through. And plus, we're in the building stages of this thing.
Yeah,
when you're building a program, you're going to have these ups and downs and these different flows throughout the season and throughout the year, and they've seen it all. Especially Keith. Like, I chuckle every time I look at him. I'm like, man, you're the only one left, man. Can you believe this?
No.
So it's a special group, and I'm excited to honor them this year, and going to miss them, but we're definitely we got a long way to go this year as well. So,
well, I'm going to ask you this next question. I'm not trying to put you on the spot to talk about it specifically, but I saw the SEC. They're going to go to the automated strike zone for their tournament.
Oh, yeah.
I've been saying it on these broadcasts that it's going to come to college baseball, just like it's coming everywhere else, sooner than later, apparently. Are you for this? Are you?
Yep.
I got to be honest. I'm sitting there watching it. I don't understand how strike zone is one way and then it changes completely, and your pitcher has to adjust again and again 3 different times for the same umpire. It's got to stop, right? And especially in college baseball, reward the guys for hitting their spots. They don't do that, and we're going to see changing strike zones this weekend. And you've seen it every game. So it's due, isn't it? It's time for college baseball.
Yeah, I do think it is. There's got to be some level of accountability for some of the egregious calls. And I'm not really talking about so you got TrackMan that will basically evaluate where every pitch is.
Right.
Ball or strike. You get all the data on it. Does it have to be inside that TrackMan zone for it to be a strike every single time? No, I think that's unrealistic, right? But at the end of the day, my thing is the consistency of it. I think that's what it provides. Like, if you're calling that pitch that's down a strike, then call it a strike. If you're calling the pitch that's a ball off the plate a strike, call it a strike. It can't be a 50-50 flip, or if a coach says something to you, then all of a sudden you're changing your zone and vice versa. Like, it's got to be consistent throughout the entirety of the game. I think it'd be a good thing.
Yeah.
I think it'll hold those guys accountable. And I also think it'd be good for us coaches to be able to say, this guy actually is probably better than what I'm barking at him for. But I'm all for it. I don't know how it would work with like us at the mid majors and stuff like that. I don't think that'll be a thing. I think that'll be a challenge. I don't think it'll ever happen at anything lower than the SEC or the ACC.
Yeah. Well,
I think they're
have the money to do it. Needs to get fixed. I know that somehow it needs to get fixed.
It's hard. Like, stop bringing back the bad umpires. That's the first step.
Yeah, exactly. Are you satisfied overall? Before we let you go, guys, we talked about this is a great time. They can just be baseball players. And I know they are. It kind of sounds like you're pleased with how they've segued out of the responsibilities of class and exams now to just focus on that, because I think Tuesday is a big indication that they are definitely settling in nicely.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, very, very much so. We've been getting some work in earlier on in the day so they can kind of relax and enjoy time with each other for the rest of the day. And yeah, I think they're excited to not have to open up a book and worry about any of their finals anymore.
Well, let people know we've got 6 o'clock tomorrow night. We got 4 o'clock on Saturday, and then senior day on Sunday. I think the weather's going to might be a little cooler, but I think we're okay, aren't we, weather-wise? It looks like we're okay.
Yeah, we're fine. We'll be good to go.
So, but emotional times, you have 3 games, people to come out and say hi and try to meet these dudes. They're very accessible. If you want to hang out and talk to them, they're great dudes. So come out and watch. So, and we're looking forward to it, man. Tomorrow. Hey, DVP is going to jump on Saturday with me.
I heard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Will he be the color guy, I guess? I don't know.
Yeah,
will he be the analyst?
Yeah, he's just gonna. Yeah, and you know how baseball broadcasts are actually, when you have 2 people like somebody like him, and you just kind of have a conversation the whole time.
It'll be easy. Yeah, you'll be fine.
We'll look up and it'll be the 7th inning. Oh, okay. Wow, that was fast. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, you'll be good to go.
All right, brother. Appreciate you, man. Good luck.
Thanks,
Looking
Rick.
forward to seeing you guys this weekend.
All right, buddy. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Take care of yourself.
See you later.
All right, there you go. Alex Ware joining us on the program. Good stuff from him. Appreciate everybody asking questions in between. Good stuff. It can be based on umpire opinion, but based on the set rule. It's supposed to be knee to chest, yeah. But interesting, though. He didn't mean, Big South needs it. Don't hire bad umpires. That was a good answer. Good answer. Yeah, he has been. He's been very even keeled about the whole thing. He's been very even keeled about keeping this team together and going into the next challenge next week. It's good stuff. Dwight Vick will be next. Boom. Yeah, Dwight Vick's coming up next. Good stuff today. Thanks again to all of our sponsors, which we've mentioned many, many times. Lawson's Mobile Home Supply, NRV Super Bowl, Top Shelf Apparel, Family Fencing, McClellan Chiropractic, Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment every day, Professional Door Incorporated, thanks to Louise Baker, Mike Burnham. Great to see Louise last night. Again, Louise, if you're watching, thanks for the invite. Little River Heating and Air, BDST Fan Question of the Week, National Bank member FDIC, the exclusive banking partner of the program. Professional Door Incorporated, family owned and operated, sponsor of our text line, ReadySetFund.com. Hut. Sundown Electric down in Elliston. NRV and National Bank member FDIC. Just awesome. Yeah, I give a shout out to Dave Brain. Got to meet Dave Brain last night. We're going to try to have Dave on with us at some point too. He said, I'm not really a computer guy, so we're going to work that out. Coach Elmo and I are going to try to work that out and have him on. Sorry, I'm just sending a couple of text messages here. So, yeah, we're going to see about trying to get Dave Brain on. Again, I'd like to have Dave Brain on with Elmo. I would like that as well. But we're going to have Elmo and Bud on, I think, the first time together. Prediction for the Dwight Vick hat and shirt color. We've seen white recently. We've seen tech colors. What was it? Was it green last week? I'm going to go, was it green or red last week. I'm going to go red. Wayne, that's my pick. I'm going to go red. I'm going red. Oh, last night, like I said, it was Coach Foster took a lot of time on stage to talk about the influence of filmation. That was really, really cool. Oh, we did see red? Okay. Well, if we've seen red, I couldn't remember. I thought we had. How about like a blue, a navy, something like that? What do you think? We'll go navy. Black. I could see. We'll see. He started his own little. What is that called? Where you can just place a bet on anything? Kashi. Isn't that the thing where you can just place a bet on anything? Something like that. Yellow, green, red, tech colors. Yeah. So, yeah, Coach Foster will be on the show. I'm guessing probably starting in June. And Dwight and I are going to have an announcement, too, coming up. So I thought I was done having to go to Wise. Got stuff moved, but now because my son's going from Wise to Charlottesville, I know. Next year, I got to meet with people today with him. So I got to go back to Wise after the show today. And I thought I was done. So another drive for me today. But you never mind driving south. All right? Get through the morning traffic, the people going to their jobs, and you can just kind of get beyond Withville and you're starting to head down the 81 south toward Bristol. And then you're just kind of, all right. I see that, Morris. What is that building? Spirit Air. Oh, that's right, because Spirit went out of business, didn't they? Interesting. Yeah, he is. He's heading to UVA next year. He's on the dean's list again. Enormously proud of him after what I think about where we were a year ago, and I've openly shared it here. He tried to take his own life, and as a parent, there's nothing that. I mean, there's no words. You can't describe what that was like, and to see what he's gotten into, it gets emotional. So yeah, he's taken the Wise, and now he's heading down to Charlottesville. That's where he's wanted to be. He's got a couple buds that go down there as well. So. Yep. All right, good stuff. All right, joining us now on the program is that gentleman. It's Dwight Vick from Victory Life, the quintessential source for all things tech football. We were trying to guess what your color theme would be today, and it is black. We said black would be a possibility. People keeping track. We've seen yellow, green, red, hoagie colors. Today it's black. We had white on. That looked great too. What's up?
Oh, man? Yeah, the white on white. Yeah, today's last couple of days here in Northern Virginia, man. It's been kind of gloomy with the weather and overcast. Yeah. So I went, black, my The Wire, inspired by The Wire, the show, Baltimore. No, man. But good morning, man. How's everything going? How's the show going so far today?
Oh, it's been fun. I got to hang out with royalty last night over at the Blacksburg Sports Club. With Coach Foster was the speaker, and he and Burnip were on stage together. And Coach Elmo, got him in, and he ended up taking over the show. You know, it was great. It was just, and Coach Foster got a little emotional talking about the importance of Coach Elmo and what he meant to him as a younger coach, and what he taught him about defense, and how that kind of set the thing in motion. The 2 years that he was there prior to the Sugar Bowl win. It was a really good night. Really good night. So
I think just from what I've seen, is that tour thing they do?
No, they've done it, yeah. But this was at the Blacksburg Sports Club. It was the last meeting of the season, and Louise Baker invited me as her guest. So I said, "Yeah, let's go." And so they'll resume in August. And Bud was the keynote speaker last night. So, but they did it like that, like the town hall type of thing.
Yeah. I went to one in Northern Virginia, at the Waterford several years ago. It was nice. It's really cool to see them on stage. And Bud is so insightful now, like his perspective on his career as a coordinator, as a coach, and then Almation can take over a room. Like, he is a great storyteller. I watch him often on your show, but he's just, he has got so much perspective. I like hearing the OGs, the older guys, talk about not just their coaching, but how the game and how life has changed, good or bad. Like, I always feel like I learned something when I could listen to, a Bud, a Beamer, and Almation. I think that's the cool thing about, like, perspective. I think sometimes we try to rush those guys out the door, and we want to hear from the newer age people as far as, like, their takes on scheme and coaching and life. And that's cool because they have something to say too. But I always feel like you can learn something. Like, when you have legendary coaches on, like, I was just actually listening late last night to a podcast about the great Kozlowski that coached at Bethel for so many years. He passed away. And Mike London, who played for him, it was on Rusty Bird's show, his podcast. And Rusty had all these former Bethel High School players. It was like 6 of them on the panel just talking about Kozlowski. And I was like, wow, because I only knew Coach Koz my 4 years in Hampton High when Iverson was there. But I knew he was a legend. But when you hear people talk about it, his legacy and what he did for coaching football and track and the state championships it's really cool. So Bud is, I was just with Bud a few months ago for Ronyo Whitaker's funeral. Him and Coach Donspring came, and he looked great. And I look at him, I'm like, man, like, he still, is Bud Foster to me when I look at it, even though I'm older now, I'm no longer a kid myself, but it's just still cool to see him. And he really cares about Virginia Tech.
Wayne says, DV, that video of your cousin Beamer hugging and talking makes my heart full. Their admiration and respect for each other is palpable. Yeah, no doubt about it.
I saw that. That was on that Hokie Stone series.
Yeah.
That warmed my heart too. That the picture that's surfacing around the internet, as well as that clip. I always look at that and say, 2 guys came together to put Virginia Tech University, the football program, on the map on another level. And Beamer, man, there'll never be another Beamer. I mean, he really cared about his players, and he really cared about Virginia Tech. That's why I tell you all the time, every now and then, when we talk about nostalgia and history, how we will never have those kind of coaches again. That's not to say Franklin or Tony Elliott does not care. What I'm talking about, as far as, like, you think about a teacher you had that's been at a middle school for 17, 30 years, that you had, your older brother had, your cousin had, or your neighbor. It's kind of like how before we had specialty programs and academies, you went to your high school from elementary to middle school. Kind of like that show, The Wonder Years, right?
Yeah.
The Wonder Years, how, you walked to school and you had your books, and the nostalgia from the consistency of life, right? How you knew on Fridays you had this. On Saturday mornings, you would wake up to your mom that's kind of like when I look at Beamer, he reminds me of a great time in my life, a time I will never get back. And him and Mike, when I see him and Mike together, it's really cool, man, because of what they did in that short amount of time, which felt like forever, but it was only a few years. But it felt like it was 10, because those Saturday afternoons in the Blacksburg, or those great runs against Boston College and Pittsburgh Mike had, and the talent and just the greatness of them two coming together. And, you know, Beamer was smart, because this was during the time where Ronald Curry, rightfully so, was the best player in the country. And Mike, in the same district, 15 minutes away in Newport News, was just as good. Not on the level of saying he was better than Ronald, but he was a dynamic player. And Tech was smart to put all their eggs in Mike's basket, with the help of yours truly.
I was going to say, they had a little help. Just a little.
Yeah, so I mean, it worked out really well. They made history together that hopefully can be duplicated in a way where we start getting wins like that again. And it, you know, contrary to, you know, to misconceptions, the one great thing about those two is that they were humble, and it wasn't just them; it was the entire program. Like, it, you know, you had Andre Davis, and you had Matt Lair and Dave Cadella. You had Andre Kendrick. You had great Ricky Hall, great players. It wasn't just Mike and Beams.
How close? You've mentioned this before. I get this. I meant to ask this a couple of weeks ago because you mentioned it. How close was Mike to saying yes to Syracuse? Right? That was close. Well, that was, you may have been the tipping point, which is why he did. And that was something, right, that because of the vibe that he had for that, you know, that program and the quarterbacks that had been there. How close was that to this whole history that we have now with him in Blacksburg may not have happened?
I think that's always the fun part about it, right? Whether you talk about a 30 for 30 or a VH1 behind the music documentary, like how somebody was so close to leaving the band, or almost didn't go on tour, and it never almost didn't happen. I would say it was more so about what if, right? What could have been for Syracuse, because Syracuse was losing the dynamic Donovan McNabb, and they had a string of runs with great quarterbacks. And Mike was really, really feeling, he had a great visit at Syracuse, but I think proximity really helped Virginia Tech, because this is what I try to tell people. I got into a debate with a real popular Twitter Virginia Tech handle that tried to say Mike would have never come to Virginia Tech because of NIL. And I'm like, I'll just say it, OxVT, he has a Twitter handle, and he was saying Mike would have never come. And I'm like, how you going to tell me of all people? And he was like, in the day of NIL, he was like, there's no way he would have come. He wouldn't, you know, because he was venting because Tech was losing and he was mad. And I said, listen, Mike loved being close to home. He is a guy that loves to fish. Syracuse was too far. It was too cold. Even though Tech gets really, really cold, Syracuse gets colder. And I, along with a lot of other people, but especially me, sold him on the fact that if you come to Tech, I said this, it's the article. It's in the article. You will take Tech to another level, because Al Clark was going in his senior year and he was going to be leaving. There was going to be a vacancy for him or Dave Meyer. And I just think people don't realize, like, even in the day of NIL, I still think a guy like Mike would have gone to Virginia Tech, because he's not going to go. Like, my son is going to Louisiana in a month to go play at Northwestern State. Isaiah will go play in anywhere. He'll go to Germany to play because he loves basketball. He can be away from home. Sure. Mike grew up in Ridley Circle projects, and he wanted to be close to home. Keep in mind, and this is well documented, this is in a documentary, Mike almost quit Virginia Tech playing football. He almost went home twice. He was homesick. As a matter of fact, what really helped him, nobody talks about this, is my then girlfriend, now my wife, was cooking for him and Ronyo Whitaker and Emmett Johnson, ziti, spaghetti, baked chicken. She would go to Cochran dorm and bring him food, or she would come, he and his teammates would arrive at her townhouse in Pheasant Run. This is even after I graduated and was trying to get in the NFL. So the support he had there was critical. So it wasn't so much he almost went to Syracuse. It was close because he really loved to visit, and him and McNabb had a great time together. and McNabb was a similar dynamic dual threat quarterback like him. But I really know he loved the feel of Virginia Tech. And he loved the fact that even though it was 4.5, 5 hours from Newport News, it was accessible where his mom and all of them could get there, because there was no NIL back then to help with those things like transportation. But Virginia Tech and Brenda and everybody, his mom found a way to get there. But if anything that was close, it almost happened, is Mike almost left, because when you grow up insulated from the world in Eastern Newport News, and you don't travel and you don't have a timeshare, you have never been to Vegas or Mexico or Cancun or places like New York, going to a place like Tech is a far, far away place. It's almost like you're not in Virginia anymore.
That's right.
So people don't realize the proximity played a huge part. People say, well, why not UVA? Well, at the time, Aaron Brooks was at UVA, his other cousin. And Aaron Brooks, people don't remember, unless people understand the dynamics that was going on at UVA. Aaron Brooks was being misused some at UVA. I mean, I thought Aaron Brooks was one of the best quarterbacks in ACC history, was a great 757 legend quarterback at Ferguson High School. But if you remember, they had Mike Groh and Aaron Brooks. So they kind of were doing the back and forth. Well, I knew what they were doing. So I told Mike how Beamer and Ricky Bussell were going to use him. So if anything, it was a big culture shock coming to Tech. But I think having family and even teammates he got close to made him feel more at home. And then also, I think, too, like, just for those wondering, you know, the NIL question, I just want to remind people that, like I told OxVT on Twitter, Mike would have gotten so many deals at Virginia Tech, he would have never had to leave. Because keep in mind, he would have had, if the Boozer twins are getting commercials, imagine Mike at Virginia Tech. He would have had Nike, he would have had billboards, he would have never had to leave. As a matter of fact, here's one no one's ever said before. If NIL existed during that time when Mike and I played, Mike would have never declared. I shouldn't say never. I would say there's a 98% chance he would have probably stayed at Tech, because he would have had all the money and he could have won that national championship, because he would have stayed another year, right?
He said that too, didn't he? Didn't he tell you that? He said that. I would like to have had a chance to win that title.
No. When he called me, when he told me he was going to leave, I don't know. No, maybe I called him because the rumors were swirling. I was living here in Northern Virginia trying to find my way, and I called Mike and I said, "So you leaving?" He was like, "Yeah, cuz Dwight, I can't pass up an opportunity to go in the first round." But it wasn't like I'm out of here. Like, I don't think.
I got you.
I don't think people really understand, like, during that time, and even now, but especially during that time, the 90s and 2000s, we were winning so much. And this is what made Beamer special. He could take young men, especially young black men, that really would never really have been in Southwest Virginia, to come up there and be in a place like Southwest Virginia at Virginia Tech. And we really had a great time. We loved our time there. Like, you got Antonio Freeman, who was from the city of Baltimore. You got Cornell Brown, who was from Lynchburg. But Mike and all of us were from urban areas, and we loved it up there. We were winning. It was a great campus. It was a great town. We spent our summers up there, water gun fights, cookouts, going downtown. So it was just a euphoric time. So the combination of NIL and the fact that we were winning and the fact that Mike didn't like change, I don't think he would have declared as soon as he did. But again, let's be real. It all worked out.
It all kind of worked out, didn't it?
It all worked out.
I remember we did the tailgate show, and then Bill and Mike, I was up in the booth for that JMU game, the game where here comes Mike Vick. And you're like, okay, man, let's see, you hear a lot of great stuff. I hope he's not going to be a bust. And then it's like 3 plays in, the play at the goal line, you're like, all righty then, world, watch out. It's as real as it was hyped to be.
I was at home. I was playing arena football at that time, and I remember it wasn't televised. I was listening on the radio. This is before all the channels, all the streaming services. There was no ESPN3, ESPN Plus. So I'm listening to Bill Roth and Mike Burnup on the radio like it's 1957. And Roth, he's like, Vic drops back, blah, blah, blah. He takes off, touchdown Tech. And I was like, what? Like he just dropped back and off a quarterback draw. But to be honest with you, and you could probably ask guys like Andre Davis this or anybody that was there during that time, it wasn't a surprise. I said to people, and I said to anyone that would listen when I was in Hampton, Virginia, that Mike was going to do that. I said when he was redshirting to the Collegiate Times, I said they did an article on me, a feature on me, and the interview took place in the field house. And I said that Mike was going to change and revolutionize the position. I said all this. I said Tech has never had a quarterback. And keep in mind, when I said Tech had never had a quarterback like him before, they had some great ones. Maurice DeShazo was nothing to sneeze at.
Absolutely.
Maurice DeShazo was one of the best quarterbacks in Tech history as far as his dual threatness and how he was able to just make plays. At one time, going into his senior year, he was a dark horse for the Heisman. So Maurice, as they say, he did the damn thing. But Mike was just special because he was always a hard worker. He was very humble. And he had a natural gift to throw the deep ball, as we talk about. And it was a perfect storm because the players around him were also veterans. That defense, people always say, how will you know Virginia Tech is back? I always say, look at the defense, the culture around that team. Tech has always been really good when they had great defenses. And then and now, modern era, and now, like, if you talk about, like, that defense featured Corey Moore, John Engelberger, Carl Bradley, Nate Williams, Chad Beasley, David Pugh, and so on and so on. Linebackers, Jamel Smith, Michael Hawks. The secondary was amazing with Ike Charlton, who's now coaching at Norfolk State, Anthony Midget, who's coaching at Virginia Tech. Those corners, Roniel Whitaker and Larry Austin were the backups who played a lot. I mean, Philip Summers, Corey Bird. The only knot was safety, where Nick Sorson was a great safety, but he wasn't the starter that year. Reggie Samuel, aka Mookie, got hurt in the spring, and Nick stepped up and started that year. But that team, and don't forget Ben Taylor, who was a psychopath. Yeah. I mean, so again, he
was a psychopath.
In a good way. For Ben's my guy.
Love Ben, yeah. Old number 40. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just those guys, and that's what I mean about household names and hopefully Virginia Tech can get back to that with Franklin, where we really know the players. Like I don't mean just because they move around. I'm saying like we knew those players then because they were worth knowing. I know some players now because I want them off the field, because they're getting beat. They're getting called for holding every play, or they're not making plays. They're letting the ball just get caught over them. So I'm like, who is this kid? Why is he? When I talk about those teams or even teams similar to them, we knew their names because they made plays.
Right.
And that's the beauty. I tell people, whether it's football, basketball, gymnastics, baseball, your legacy becomes cemented when you become a playmaker, when you become worth watching, when you know that on 3rd and 5, he's going to make that play. That's what I miss. I miss, watching the game. We're up 17, knowing we're going to give away a lead. I hate that.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It doesn't matter what the score is. You're thinking, it doesn't matter. This just doesn't matter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No doubt.
So a lot of guys are recognized, and a lot of the good guys that we definitely know, obviously, that get celebrated and written about. Who, in your mind, is there one guy? Because I saw this come up on X, and I was thinking about it. I said, I'm just going to ask Dwight. Is there one guy that goes understated, unheralded? Who's an unsung hero that never gets talked about enough, not only on the teams you were on, but you give a lot of credit to for helping maintain that thing at the time and build? Is there somebody that stands out, or is there couple guys? Or
that's a very tough question, especially
it was. I know.
I will say, and again, because I can probably list 20, 25 players if I really had time to do my homework.
Exactly.
But exactly. There's so many guys that came through that tunnel and played on Worsham Field, and that we kind of sometimes forget it. But like the guys like Jason Worlds,
Bud mentioned him last night. Yeah,
Jason Worlds was an animal, man. Jim Davis, from the 804 from the Richmond area. He had that big sack on the road against North Carolina that put them out of field goal range, and then they missed the field goal. And Virginia Tech went on to win the ACC title that year, the regular season title. Myron Newsom, the father of Daz and Dion Newsom. Dion played at Virginia Tech, and Daz played and had a great time at career receiver at North Carolina. Myron Newsom, Bud Foster arguably said he was the best linebacker in Virginia Tech history that he coached. And he used to show tape of Myron Newsom to Vince Hall and Vegas Robinson and when they came on visit. Another guy I mentioned just now was Vince Hall. Vince Hall was one of the best linebackers in Virginia Tech history. He doesn't get talked about the same way we talk about a DB, because at DB, him and his brother, they were legends, especially Xavier DB. So Jim Druckenmiller. I mean, when you talk about quarterbacks, you talk about winning percentage. That he went 21-2 or 21-2 or something like that in 2 years. He took Tech to the Sugar Bowl win over Texas, and he also won the conference with a 10-1 record and played in the Orange Bowl against the two-time defending national championship Nebraska Huskers. So Jim Druckenmiller is a quarterback that you don't see a lot of highlights about. You hear his name. I'm just like, why do we not talk about Jim Druckenmiller? And maybe because when you start moving on with, careers, you look at the more modern era, Gerard Evans and things like that. But there's so many players, man. And I love this question because it makes me reminisce and think. But there's a lot of guys. I mean, I'm going to tell you a guy that I think, really, really came on and cemented himself as somebody that was really great was Greg Stroman. I think Greg Stroman out of Stonewall Jackson High School, now called Union Reed High School, he had punt return records. He was a great cornerback. I thought Beam should have played him on offense as well. But, when you talk about household names, that's great. But there are so many guys that were unsung heroes that had great careers that we sometimes forget about. Because, I mean, when you talk about football, there's so many players every year that come onto the team. But that is probably a great topic that I would like for you to keep asking me throughout our segments every now and then, right?
Yeah.
Because it gives the fans a chance to get on their phone and Google or be like, oh, yeah, remember him? Because, again, Jason Worlds was a savage, right? I mean, you forget about him, man, because he was so good. Another linebacker I think about is Gavea Winslow. Out of Northern Virginia, out of Loudoun County. Gavea Winslow just was consistent. And one of my favorite players of all time was Cody Grimm. Did I say it right? Grimm,
Cody Grimm.
The outside linebacker. I mean, Cody Grimm, man, he was undersized. He was tough as nails. And, it's one of those players like, if you walked in the room, he wasn't going to really catch your attention. But on game day, he caught your attention. So it's just one of those things, man, where Tech has just had their fair share of legends. And when I say legends, obviously you know about the household names, but I'm talking about guys that won games for you that we sometimes forget about.
Exactly. For me, it's I was a huge fan of Willie Pyle. On number 35.
Oh.
He was not only was he a great interview and a great guy, but he went out and did his job and he never missed I never saw that guy. He was always prepared. I was a huge fan of Willie Pyle. I really was. That's the guy.
Willie Paul's got a son at Michigan who was a great player in high school. He should be great in college. He's been on my podcast. He's also a good friend to me.
Oh, cool.
He jokes about when he came to Virginia Tech, I was a captain on my way out. And he said he used to be like looking at me like scared to death whether or not he could play at this level. But Willie Powell was one of the best safeties in Virginia Tech history.
I know.
But again, he doesn't. You talk about DBU and especially when you get to DBs, you forget about him to some degree. But during those years he played at Tech, those 3 years, he was clutch, always intercepting the ball, right place, right time. He was really a charismatic person. Like he's just a great interview. He's a great interview. great storyteller, and he was also very physical. He played with the Chiefs a few years. He was in the NFL for a few years.
He was an NFL guy. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and he kind of was one of those guys that really kept that DBU legacy going. I mean, man, you talk about DBs, that's probably a show in itself. When you talk about
it
DBs.
is, yeah.
And that's one of the things. Another thing, again, I'm not to bring it back to the current era. When I say when we'll know Virginia Tech is back when the defense is really balling, but I'm also mean as far as like the way we're talking about Willie Powell. I would love to talk about some new safeties right now
100%.
in that same way, where it's like, hey, that kid is doing this, and this, man. If it wasn't for that tackle, if it wasn't like you think about great moments in Tech history, like Jimmy Williams, when he walked down Wally Lundy. I think it was not Wally Lundy, that was a linebacker. Pierman, the running back. I think it was him. It was in the Tech UVA game. I think it was Pierman. But Jimmy Williams walked him down. It would be a horse collar tackle today, but he saved the tackle. And subsequently after that, Virginia Tech forced a fumble. Marcus Hagan and those guys fumbled the ball, and we recovered it. So the UVA went scoreless on that drive. And it was a few years later after Torian Gray walked down Tiki Barber, same fashion in the Thanksgiving Friday matchup or Saturday matchup, when T. Gray walked down Tiki Barber, which saved the touchdown, which in both cases, neither running back that got walked down, that rarely ever, if ever, happened. So those are two moments I reminisce on and can say right away that led to big wins over, respectfully, two really good UVA teams that year.
Yeah.
Torian's was in 96, where UVA was really good and ranked, and Jimmy Williams was in 2004, when both Tech and UVA were in the top 4 of the ACC. So these are things that I look at when it comes to legendary plays, where players not only make plays but also become cemented in your memory when you're like, man, that was a great play by him. We need more of that, not just a batted down pass and then the next 3 games he gets beat on 3 consecutive 9 routes, because then it's almost like, well, you really weren't good, you were lucky.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
And I want those guys I want them to be really, really good this year.
Well, if you talk to Will, he probably has no idea. He doesn't remember me at all. But tell him I said, hey, maybe we can get him on here sometime. I'd like to talk about his career.
Oh, Willie will jump on. I mean,
yeah, Willie's great.
Yeah, no, Willie's my guy. I'll tell him. Yeah, I'll text him as soon as we get off here. That's my guy.
Yeah. We did several interviews while he was there, not only during the spring game, but he would come on the show. It was great stuff.
Yeah, man, Willie's a great guy. Like I said, his son, he likes Franklin a lot, and even though you would say, well, he likes him, but when his son was being recruited, we were in disarray, and his son is a 4-star. His son's at Michigan, so his son made the right choice. But absolutely. And that's the thing too, is like, one last person, Tyrone Drakeford.
Yes, sir.
Tyrone Drakeford. Again, he played alongside Damian Russell, in the early Beamer years when the secondary was named the Dark Zone. So Tyrone Drake was another guy. He also won a Super Bowl championship.
That's right.
With the 49ers, played alongside Deion Sanders. Yep.
Yes, he did.
And he played with some other NFL teams. So Tyrone Drake was one of those guys. To me, we kind of forget about a little bit as we move forward into the modern era.
Well, you led into something I want to get into a little bit next week in case some kind of news breaks around Tech, but about the modern roster, because a lot of people like to talk about that. And like you just said, can we find guys that we can talk about going forward? And can you have teammates who really value each other as teammates the way it's set up now as opposed to that? I think that would be a very good thing to hear you get your thoughts on. So
yeah, we definitely do that. I like the roster we have. It's just we'll see. I mean, I like the energy and the what we're doing and the depth we're putting together. It'll be interesting. You've had some great guests on this week that have really talked about what Franklin's doing with depth as we move into this new mega con. Real quick, I know we're up against. I got to get off.
No, we're good.
What is it final? I watched your show yesterday. Is that new expansion with the playoff? Is that?
We got to get into that too. Yeah,
is that in the works? Is that in the works?
The coaches voted for it, which means the coaches already know that they've been told, if you guys want to do this, we're going to do it. So they're going to skip 16 I don't know when it'll be implemented. You got the new TV deals coming up here in a couple of years. You've got the rumors about expansions. They're going to time this to where it's going to be instituted. So, yeah, the 24 playoff is coming. Today they're going to sign off on officially the NCAA tournament going up to 76. And then I don't know when it'll be official, but I would expect sometime either during or after the 26 football season, we'll get the word that in 2028, the playoff will be 24 teams. Yes. Yeah.
So just real quick. So the NCAA tournament, when will that will be in effect this coming tournament?
This coming year. Yeah. The 26-27 tournament.
So the NCAA tournament and college football, basketball and football are expanding their playoffs. Wow.
Bigger. Yeah. Yeah. Money. The money grab. That's what it is. They got to pay people, right? That's what this is. It's the only thing that makes sense.
76 teams. Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, I you know what? As a basketball aficionado, that's great as far as just watching games. The one that's going to be weird, we'll talk about it. I know we got to go. Is the
we'll do that next week. Yeah.
24 teams is insane. But we'll see. Anyway, thank you, Rick. Appreciate you.
Great stuff, man. People loving hearing you talk about those guys, man. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you, man.
You just go. It's great. It's great. So I was like, wow, how does he do it? How does he do it?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I can do that, but then I forget where I put my glasses at.
I know. I forgot my keys driving out the other day in my truck. I'm sitting there, why won't the truck start? Oh, yeah, I left the key fab in the house for the second time.
No doubt, man. All right, man. You have a great week.
All right, brother. You too, man. Have a great weekend.
Take care.
All right. We got some good stuff to talk about next week with Dwight. All right, great stuff as always. It's been a hell of a week of shows already. We got one more tomorrow. We'll see how it unfolds. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Great stuff. Thanks to everybody here on the program. Thanks to David Smith. I mean, that guy. Jeez Louise. So good. Andy Bitter, Alex Guerra, and Dwight Vick. Thanks to you, Wayne. Welcome back. Thanks to everybody in chat. Thanks to all of our great sponsors. Subscribe, like, and share the channel. We're growing. But Foster's going to be on here. We got 2 more announcements I haven't even gotten to yet. So I need your support. Thanks for your support. It's the reason that and our great sponsors. We try to do the best we can. Everybody stay safe. We'll see you tomorrow on the Finally Friday edition. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest.